I'm the loyal sidekick to the sweet, innocent female lead. On the high-speed train, the villainess threw $5,000 at me to swap seats. The female lead said angrily, "Don't you dare humiliate Lila with your money, get lost." For the female lead's sake, I refused to change seats. The very next day, a new director was parachuted into the company, and it was none other than that toxic female antagonist. The female lead said, "Lila, I just heard her call you ugly." I took it at face value and became her champion, clashing with the director at every turn. Later, when the female lead was in a desperate need for money, she asked me to take out an online loan for 200,000 yuan. When the debt collector called, I asked her to pay me back. The heroine said, "Lila, how could you taint our friendship with money?" She simply vanished, while chasing the debt. I was accidentally hit by a car and killed. When I opened my eyes, I was back on that day on the high-speed train. When the villainess threw $5,000 at me to swap seats, I immediately latched onto the villainess, becoming her loyal lackey. As I opened my eyes, I found myself seated on a high-speed train racing down the tracks. A clear voice rang out, "Here's 5,000 yuan, give me your window seat." I looked up to see a stunningly beautiful, fashionably dressed young woman, head to toe in designer labels. Her features were sharp and striking, her expression cold and aloof, radiating an air of haughty disdain as if she looked down on everyone. Before I could say a word, Dev beside me suddenly erupted in fury. "What's your problem? Think you're rich or something? Offering $5,000 to make our Lila give up her seat." My seat was by the window, and it was very comfortable. "Can you even afford that? And even if you could, is that any way to behave? Don't you dare insult Lila with your money. Get lost," Dev said with an eye roll. In my past life, when I heard the girl offer 5,000 to switch seats, I was actually a bit tempted, but after hearing Dove's words, I hesitated. The girl frowned. "I wasn't talking to you. Why are you barking? What? How dare you call me a dog? We wouldn't switch seats with you for $10,000. Dove fumed. "Lila, let's just ignore this person." In my past life, the girl's arrogant attitude and Dove's look of grievance made me decide instantly to refuse her. In this life, I immediately stood up, offered a polite smile, and respectfully invited, "I'll switch seats with you right away." Dev was dumbfounded. "Lila, how could you agree to switch with her?" "One," I gave her a cool glance. "Why not? They're offering $5,000. Dev's face flushed red. "You'd embarrass a friend for $5,000? I raised an eyebrow. "First of all, they were just asking if I'd swap seats for $5,000. You're the one who barged in and told them to get lost without any right to. If you're embarrassed, you brought it on yourself. Secondly, you made a decision for me without even asking, costing me $5,000. Is that how a friend acts?" Dev opened her mouth, but had no retort. Seeing her stunned expression gave me a deep sense of vindication. I picked up my bag and walked away. After being reborn, sitting next to Dev made me incredibly uncomfortable. The young mistress smiled, shot a smug glance at Dev, and said to me, "You're more sensible than some people. Show me your QR code." With an air of superiority, she took out her phone and transferred 5,000 yuan to me under Dove's astonished gaze. "Thank you, miss," I replied with a smile, not minding her haughty attitude in the slightest. $5,000, for a poor devil like me, that's a fortune. Who cares about a bad attitude? Everyone around, including Dove, wore expressions of envy, jealousy, and resentment. Someone muttered, "They're really giving out $5,000 bucks." Dove bit her lip and declared loudly, "So what if it's $5,000 bucks? Are any of us that desperate for money? Look at her attitude. Anyone with a shred of self-respect wouldn't trade places with her." The others chimed in, "Exactly, selling your dignity for a bit of cash." Dove puffed out her chest, putting on an air of someone who couldn't be bought. Someone else muttered under their breath, "For $5,000 to swap seats, I'd call him grandma in a heartbeat." Too bad that chance isn't coming my way. I couldn't be bothered with Dove. I walked over and sat down in the young Mrs. original seat. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a flash of pure envy on Dove's face, and I couldn't help but let out a cold sneer. It wasn't until after I died that I understood. Dove's tough, kind exterior was just a facade. Deep down, she was petty and couldn't stand to see anyone doing better than her. If the young lady had asked her to switch seats, she would have agreed in a heartbeat, but the young lady asked me instead, and offered $5,000 for the swap. Our combined monthly salary is only 8,000 yuan. She's just jealous. That's why she's causing a scene. I was completely off guard. Seeing her wronged, I actually turned down the 5,000. I must have been out of my mind. After getting off at the high-speed rail station, I went my separate way from Dove and didn't accompany her home. From now on, I'm cutting all ties with Dove for good. In my past life, right after I started my new job, my phone suddenly broke down. Dove treated me to a meal, and from that moment on, I considered her my best friend and was utterly devoted to helping her, no matter what she said or did. My mind was like mush. I believed every word and would run any errand or charge into any battle for her. It wasn't until after I died that I realized I was just a cannon fodder supporting character in a trashy novel. The female lead's lackey, the female lead, Dove, is a resilient, kind-hearted, poor little white lotus flower. Because of her kindness, many people are willing to help her, buy me a meal, and I'd walk through fire for her, help someone get a document, and you'll get a promotion and a raise, cook a meal for the domineering CEO, and he'll fall head over heels for her. This CEO romance novel claims its heroine is an ordinary person with no power or influence, no cheat codes. She has to rely on her own hard work to find both love and career success. Just looking at this novel makes me laugh. Without some kind of plot armor, how could I have been so stupid as to go to the ends of the earth for Dove over a single meal? Even more idiotic was when Dove asked to borrow money and hinted I could get an online loan. I actually went ahead and borrowed $200,000 for her without a second thought. It's like my intelligence was forcibly switched off. Later, when I was being chased by debt collectors and asked Dove for the money back, she had the nerve to look shocked, as if asking for repayment was some kind of betrayal and insult. How could you taint our friendship with something as vulgar as money? With a look of utter devastation on her face, she ran off in tears, not returning a single cent. Meanwhile, I was hounded by debt collectors, forced to flee from place to place, until I finally met my end under the wheels of a car. Fortunately, I was reborn and awakened. Women like Dove, with all their hypocrisy, make me sick. The next day at work, a colleague whispered to me, "Did you hear? Some new hire parachuted in to be the director of our admin department." I was stunned. Seriously, my colleague gave a firm nod. After the chat, I returned to my desk and studied Dove's expression from across the way. Her face was grim, and she had no focus for work whatsoever. Yet, when a colleague came over to console her, she put on a sweet smile and said, "It's really okay. I'm fine. I'll do my job well no matter who becomes the director. Besides, the company never actually promised me the position, did they, in my past life?" Hearing this made me think she was so kind and pitiful, unfairly edged out by someone with connections. Now, I realize how fake she is. There were rumors in the company that upper management had favored Dove for the position of administrative department director. Everyone said, "Dove works so hard, the director position is practically hers for the taking." Dove would always modestly reply, "Oh, not at all, everyone else is doing a better job than I am." A confident smile would spread across her face. But to everyone's surprise, what seemed like a sure thing was derailed when a dark horse candidate swooped in and snatched the director position right from under her. Everyone felt sorry for Dove and thought she'd been wronged. Dove pretended to be magnanimous, but secretly stirred up trouble, encouraging everyone to make things difficult for the new director. I was one of her lackeys, but I wouldn't do that anymore. Around 10 a.m., the sharp click of high heels echoed into the office, announcing the grand entrance of the new director. When Dove saw who it was, her face registered pure shock. "The new director is none other than that haughty young lady from the high-speed train yesterday." "It's you?" Dove exclaimed. The young lady gave her a cool glance and sneered. "And why shouldn't it be me?" Without so much as a glance at Dove, she turned to address the room. "My name is Sloane," she announced. "I expect your full cooperation going forward." Her tone was imperious and condescending. After the young miss delivered her speech and clicked her heels into the office, a murmur rippled through the group. "Who does she think she is? The sheer audacity." Dove bit her lip, her eyes reddening, looking utterly mortified. "What's wrong, Dove?" the others quickly asked. Dove said, "On the high-speed train yesterday, Sloane called me a dog." "What? How could she be so vicious and mean? That's just too much." The colleagues were outraged, all pointing fingers at Sloane. I saw Dove playing the innocent victim again, getting others to do her dirty work. I raised an eyebrow, walked over, and said, "We shouldn't jump to conclusions without knowing the full story." Someone else asked, "Wait, do you know what really happened?" Dove's expression shifted slightly. "Lila, I was telling the truth." "Right, you were telling the truth," I nodded, "but you left out the part where you started it. You told her to get lost first. And that's why Sloane told you to stop barking." "I remember it perfectly. You were the one who yelled 'Get out' 3 times. Dove went pale. The others exchanged uneasy glances. When I went to the break room to pour some coffee, Dove came in and asked me hesitantly, "Lila, is there some misunderstanding between us?" Holding my coffee, I replied flatly, "No misunderstanding, Lila. I've been meaning to take you out for a meal. Remember back when you first started the job and were broke? I treated you to a meal, and that's how we became such good friends. Do you remember that place? Let's go there today, too. Dev was playing the nostalgia card. I listened quietly, my face expressionless. Of course I remember. It was a chain fast food joint. That whole meal only set her back $18. For a measly $18, I was her lackey in my past life, and it cost me everything. That $18 was money well spent. I said, sure, let's have a meal together. Consider this meal paid back. From now on, we're done. In this life, we are enemies. Dev happily came over and linked her arm with mine. It gave me goosebumps. At lunch, when we went to that fast food restaurant, I said, it's on me. Dev's eyes lit up. She pretended to decline a couple of times but quickly agreed after I insisted. Seeing this, I was utterly speechless. Was I blind in my past life or something? Dev is clearly a hypocrite who loves to take advantage and can't stand to see others do well. How could I not see it at all? I added. You can only order something under 18 yuan. I won't pay for anything over that. Dev looked stunned. What? I said coldly. I'm broke, so don't go picking the expensive stuff. This fast food joint also had a slightly upscale section, where a single dish could cost tens of dollars. Whenever I was treating, Dev would always head straight for the premium section. I only make 8,000 yuan a month, and we're flat broke at home. How could she possibly pick something so expensive? This time, I stopped her directly. Dev quickly put on a bright smile. Okay, you can get it this time, and I'll treat you next time. In my past life, she promised to treat me countless times, but in reality, I was the one footing the bill almost every single time. She's only treated me a handful of times. I'm increasingly convinced I must have been brain damaged to work for someone like that, after getting my food and sitting down to eat. Dev started trying to cozy up to me again. I listened in silence. Soon, she circled back to Sloan, warning me, Lila, don't you let that $5,000 buy you off. Look at how Sloan carries herself, flush with cash and acting all high and mighty, doing whatever she pleases. She looks down on people like us from the bottom of her heart. Oh, by the way, Dev added, looking hesitant. I passed by the office earlier and overheard her talking about us. She said you? I asked, amused. What did she say about me? She said you're ugly. I remained silent. In my past life, I was manipulated into hating Sloan completely. I became Dev's lackey, fighting her battles and opposing Sloan at every turn, which ultimately led to a miserable end. In this life, I won't be swayed by her provocations again. Don't tell anyone about this, okay? Dev whispered. Lila, I just want you to know that Sloan isn't someone you should get close to. Be careful from now on, I replied flatly. Understood, Dev smiled. After lunch, back at the office, Sloan emerged from her office and said, I need someone to tidy up my office every day. Any volunteers? Everyone sided with Dev in wanting to isolate Sloan, so no one answered. The atmosphere was awkward. A smug, gloating smile spread across Dev's lips. I glanced at her and stepped forward without hesitation. Mrs. Sloan, I will, I said. Dev's smile froze on her face as she stared at me in disbelief. Lila, without so much as a glance in her direction, I walked over to Sloan. Director, I'll get your office sorted right away. Sloan gave the office a cool, sweeping look before turning to me with a smile. It seems you're the only one with any sense. I like you. Starting today, your monthly salary is increased by 10,000. How much? My head snapped up. I couldn't believe my ears. 10,000. Am I hearing this right? Sloan declared imperiously. I'm a straightforward person. I only know how to throw money at a problem. Anyone willing to pledge their loyalty to me will be handsomely rewarded. I stared at her in shock. I stepped forward earlier mainly to put Dev in her place, to wipe that smug look off her face and stop everyone from fawning over her. I never expected Sloan would offer me a $10,000 raise. I stammered, Mrs. Sloan. Are you saying you're raising my salary from 8,000 to 10,000, a random 10,000 raise? I wouldn't dare dream of that. It's probably just a 2,000 increase, right? Even that would be an incredible stroke of luck. My eyes lit up with excitement. Sloan said, that's an extra 10,000 for you, out of my own pocket. What? Oh my God. I nearly dropped to my knees right then and there, ready to clutch her legs and sob. I hurried over to her. Yes, Mrs. Sloan, from today onward, just tell Lila what you need. After Sloan left, Dev bit her lip and said, Lila, don't be fooled by her. How could she possibly give you a 10,000 yuan raise? She's lying to you. Just then, my phone chimed with a WeChat notification. I picked it up and looked. Sloan had already transferred 10,000 yuan to me. Sloan just asked for my WeChat. I thought she was going to boss me around, but it turned out she wanted to send me money. Take a good look. I picked up my phone and shoved the transfer confirmation screen in Dove's face. Some people pay up front. Dove looked stunned. I turned and hurried into the office, tidying up Sloane's area until it was spotless and perfectly organized. When I came out and sat at my desk humming a tune, Dove across from me said, "Lila, you really have no backbone. You give up your dignity just for money." I shot back, "You don't like money?" Dove puffed out his chest. "No, I don't, compared to money. I care more about dignity and integrity." In the novel, Dove has always cultivated the persona of a resilient, pure-hearted damsel. When the male lead offers her money, she staunchly refuses. In reality, in my past life, whenever I treated her to a meal, she'd promised to return the favor, but only followed through once out of 10 times, and even then, it was something cheap. When she saw Sloane offering me $5,000 to swap seats, she was green with envy and tried to stop it under the guise of righteousness. She'd also secretly seethe with jealousy whenever someone else got a raise. I scoffed. "If you don't care about money, why even have a job? Do you just love working for the sake of it? If money means nothing to you, then don't take a paycheck." Dove was left speechless. Her eyes grew slightly red, as if she was on the verge of tears. A colleague nearby immediately came to her defense. "Lila, that's not fair. What Dove means is that while it's fine to desire wealth, one must acquire it through proper means and not lose their dignity." I lifted my chin defiantly. "Tell me, if I clean my boss's office and she pays me $10,000 for it, what dignity have I lost?" My colleague opened and closed his mouth, speechless. But Mrs. Sloane was clearly looking down on you, wasn't she?" I couldn't be bothered with them and just turned and walked away. Soon, rumors started circulating around the office that I was a gold-digging sycophant. I couldn't care less. If the boss who gives me a $10,000 raise wants me to flatter him, so be it. What's more, Sloane paid that $10,000 and genuinely only had me clean her office, completely ignoring me the rest of the time. To be honest, I don't feel right about taking an $18,000 salary without a little bit of strategic flattery, so I decided to make Sloane a cup of coffee on my way to the pantry. I passed by a cubicle and saw Dove huddled with a few colleagues, their murmured conversation drifting over. "Don't worry, Dove, none of us are going to listen to her. Let's see how she gets any work done." The head of administration position should have been Dove's all along. How does she, with her connections, get to just waltz right into the job? "All right, that's enough. You shouldn't talk like that. It won't look good if someone hears you." Dove's voice was gentle, tinged with a hint of grievance. I couldn't be bothered with her insincere act. I walked into the pantry and briskly started making a cup of coffee. Someone suddenly raised their voice. "Well, some people will sell out their colleagues and become someone else's lapdog, all for money." They said it loudly, making sure I could hear. I remained unfazed. I didn't come out until the coffee was ready, and then I said calmly, "I haven't betrayed anyone. I just did what I had to do." A colleague retorted, "You didn't betray Dove. Dove helped you so much, was so good to you. She was supposed to be the director, and now her position has been taken. Yet, the first thing you did was betray her and side with that woman. Lila, I really looked down on you." I looked at them, a bit taken aback. "In your eyes, Dove has helped me a lot and been very good to me." Dove bit her lip, her eyes slightly reddening as if my retort had wounded her. The others immediately chimed in. "Isn't that the case?" I let out a derisive snort and asked, "You say Dove has helped me a lot and been good to me. Where's the proof? What exactly has she ever done for me? Remember that time Dove took you out to eat because you hadn't finished your work, and then you fixed the spreadsheet for you? And what about the last presentation when your slides weren't ready, and Dove handed you his at the last minute? Have you forgotten all that?" I turned to look at Dove. "So you've been telling people you were the one who fixed my spreadsheet, and that you gave me those slides?" A flicker of panic crossed Dove's face. The others chimed in. "Well, isn't that what happened?" I let out a cold laugh. "Then I'll have to tell the truth. For the past 2 years since I joined the company, she's been passing her work to me. I've even had to work weekends to finish her reports for her, and now, in her version, she's the one who's been helping me with reports. And that presentation PPT, I was the one who made it. Dove didn't do hers properly, so I gave her mine. Later, it seems someone else made a better one for her, so she didn't need mine anymore, and I asked for it back. How on earth did that get twisted into her helping me with the PPT?" The crowd looked shocked. Someone turned to Dove and asked, "Dove, is what she's saying true?" Dove looked flustered. Suddenly, she turned to me with a wounded expression. "Lila, what's been going on with you lately? Why are you targeting me at every turn?" The moment she played the victim, the others started relentlessly blaming me. "There's no evidence left regarding the reports and the PowerPoint, so there's no way to pursue the matter now." After Dove denied it, the others were even more outraged. I was utterly disgusted and said coldly, "Fine, I'm done with her. Let's not talk about it anymore, but as for Supervisor Sloan, you all need to think carefully. Even if you help Dove, she's not going to give you a raise, but Supervisor Sloan is different. If you do things for her and she's pleased, she'll give you a pay bump. Don't believe me? Go ahead and try. At the mention of profit, a few colleagues' expressions shifted oddly. Dove saw it all, and the look she gave me was full of venom. I smiled slowly. So what if she's the female lead? If this novel's world insists on making everyone around her act like idiots to help her, then I'll just expose her true nature bit by bit, guide the others away, and leave her utterly isolated. I ignored Dove and walked into Sloane's office with my coffee. Sloane was reviewing documents and, without looking up, said, "I didn't call for you. What are you doing in here?" Her tone was incredibly rude, fitting for the novel's archetypal villainess. To highlight the female lead's pitiable and endearing qualities, the novel portrayed Sloane as utterly outrageous. She was a wealthy heiress, yet she insisted on stooping to repeatedly antagonize the resilient, impoverished heroine. In the end, she went bankrupt, was disfigured, and met a tragic fate. Furthermore, her character was written to be utterly detestable. She always looked down her nose at everyone, spoke and acted with constant condescension, and managed to be irritating within just a couple of sentences. In my past life, that's exactly why I despised her, but now I've realized that although her words are cutting, she actually puts her money where her mouth is. I'd rather be this villainous lackey than the sidekick to that hypocritical, innocent-looking female lead. Here's your coffee, Warden Sloane, too. I placed the coffee on the desk beside her. Sloane looked puzzled. I didn't ask for coffee, I said with a smile. I wanted to make it for you myself. I hope you'll really go all out in the future and put that little White-Lotus firmly in her place. Sloane paused briefly, set it down. Yeah, I don't expect to hear a thank you from her. Sloane took a sip of her coffee, her eyes lighting up. She looked up and said, "This is delicious. From now on, if you make me a cup of coffee every day, I'll give you an extra 5,000 in your salary." What? Another 5,000 on top of my salary? I asked excitedly to confirm. "Mrs. Sloane, is that per month?" "Of course." "Wow, miss, I absolutely love it when you throw money around. You can be as harsh with your words as you like, as long as you're paying." Coming out of the office, I told the people around me, "Mrs. Sloane just gave me a $5,000 raise." Really? I showed them the bank transfer confirmation. When the others heard I got a raise just for making coffee for Sloane, they were all green with envy, and many were finally tempted. When personal gain is on the line, even those who supported Dove had to look out for themselves. That afternoon, I saw two colleagues sneak into Sloane's office to curry favor with her. They each came out beaming, having secured a 5,000 yuan raise. One led to another, and soon, all the colleagues who had stood by Dove defected to Sloane's side. No one raised any further objections to her appointment as Director of Administration. Dove was livid. Seeing her unhappy just makes my day. Sloane made a point of praising me. "You're excellent. You've been a tremendous help, rallying the team for me and helping me establish myself here. I'm giving you another 5,000 yuan raise." "What? Another raise?" If I could, I'd get down on my knees, wrap my arms around her legs, and declare, "My lady, I would go through fire and water for you without a second thought." "Thank you, Mrs. Sloane. It's all part of my duty as your assistant," I said excitedly, "by throwing money at every problem." Sloane quickly rose to prominence within the company. Her colleagues, having benefited from her largesse, were all smiles and radiant energy. When Sloane said east, not a single soul dared head west. Dove's situation, however, became increasingly awkward. One by one, the people who used to follow Dove drifted away. While they wouldn't actively sabotage her, they all kept their distance. After all, they had taken Sloane's money, so it wouldn't be right for them to keep hanging around Dove. Dove became very lonely. I was delighted to see her isolated. 2 days passed like this, and then a rumor suddenly began circulating through the company that Sloane was Julian's kept mistress. The rumors were spreading like wildfire. When I went out, I overheard many people whispering about it, and some even approached me privately, hoping to get some information from me. Sloane managed to rally the admin department with money, but the gossip led to her being shunned across the rest of the company. Hearing this made my blood boil. I've been the target of malicious sexual rumors myself, so I absolutely despise hearing that kind of slander spread about other women. Thanks to my memories from a past life, I know Sloane's true identity. She's the legitimate heiress of the Chu family. How could she possibly be someone's mistress? Besides, the company we're in right now belongs to a relative of hers, and that relative is the one who depends on Sloane. Rumors don't just come out of thin air. There's always a source. Sloane is new here and has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with her words. I've taken so much money from her, so I have to find the culprit for her. To get to the bottom of this, I pretended to be interested and used a burner account to lurk in all the company group chats. After 2 days, I finally followed the trail and found the person who started the rumor, Mia from our admin department. I gathered the evidence and went to confront Mia. Why would you spread rumors, Mrs. Sloane gave you a 2,000 yuan raise, and you stab her in the back like this? How can you live with yourself? Mia was flustered for a moment, but quickly composed herself. I don't understand what you're talking about. She firmly denied any involvement in spreading rumors. Don't understand. Take a look at the evidence. I shoved the chat logs in her face, still want to deny it. Mia had no choice but to admit it. I didn't want to, but I owed Dove a favor. Dove said she'd been terribly wronged and wanted to get back at someone. She made it sound so convincing, saying Mrs. Sloane and Julian had an inappropriate relationship. She kept bringing up the favor I owed her, so I went ahead and spread the word. It really is Dove. I sneered. I've been waiting to catch you out. Now this chance has fallen right into my lap. You're going down, I reassured Mia. Keep this quiet for now. I won't tell Mrs. Sloane just yet, and you need to stop spreading those rumors. I have my own plans. Mia let out a sigh of relief and promised she would have absolutely nothing more to do with Dove. Now that I had identified the mastermind, I kept a close watch on Dove's movements, waiting for her to slip up. Sure enough, once Mia stopped spreading the gossip, the rumors gradually died down, and Dove couldn't sit still any longer. That day, I saw her walk up to a colleague and whisper something furtively. The colleague immediately wore a look of shocked, gossipy intrigue, and then the two of them walked out together. I quietly followed them to a corner in the hallway. I saw Sloane and Julian coming out of a hotel. There's definitely something going on between them. Really? Of course, let me tell you. Just yesterday when I was out shopping, I saw them with my own eyes, all cuddled up and cozy. I turned on the recorder and captured the entire process of Dove spreading the rumor. When the two of them came out of the hallway, I slipped away quietly, went into Mrs. Sloane's office, and told her, Mrs. Sloane, I found the person who started the rumor. I submitted all the evidence to Mrs. Sloane and explained my plan. Sloane gave a cold smile. Perfect, I love a good comeuppance. That Dove needs to be taken down a peg, or he'll get too big for his boots. With everything in place, the next day I made a big, public show of confronting Mia. Why did you start that nasty rumor about Mrs. Sloane? Mia denied it at first. It wasn't me, don't talk nonsense. It was you. We pretended to have a heated argument. Then I pulled out the chat logs and told her I had proof. Mia's face fell. Our argument escalated, and every colleague in the admin department was all ears. Sloane also came out of her office and said angrily to Mia, how dare you spread rumors about me? You're fired. Effective immediately. Mia panicked instantly, pointing a finger at Dove. She told me to say it. Dove, who had been watching the drama unfold as if it had nothing to do with her, was startled. She shook her head frantically, her eyes reddening, putting on a pitiful, wronged look. It wasn't me, Mia shot back. Yes, it was. Tears welled up in Dove's eyes. It wasn't me, Mia. I know you dislike me, but you can't just frame me like this. Throwing all this mud at me won't do you any good. You made a mistake. Just apologize to Mrs. Sloane. Why do you have to set me up? Dove was shocked, aggrieved, and in tears, looking like an innocent little flower wronged by her colleagues. Mia, how could you blame Dove? Yeah, there's no way Dove would do something like that. You've really gone too far. Other colleagues also joined in condemning Mia, rallying to Dove's defense. Mia was utterly dumbfounded, the kind of genuine, jaw-dropping shock. In her heart, Dove was a kind and resilient girl. Even when Dove asked her to spread rumors, she still didn't believe Dove was a bad person. But right then and there, seeing Dove's true colors, she cried out in fury, Dove, you're such a bitch. How could you do this? I can't believe I ever trusted you. What was wrong with me? Was I out of my mind? You gave me one measly apple, and I went around defending you everywhere. You told me to spread rumors, and I actually did it. Ugh, I can't understand why I was so stupid. Mia was so furious she was ranting incoherently. Watching this unfold, I felt a quiet sense of relief. It seems even supporting characters can wake up and aren't forced to defend Dove. However, no matter how much Mia argued or cursed, Dove flat out refused to admit anything and even accused Mia of being a petty, despicable person. Others also viciously condemned Mia. With that bunch of sycophants defending Dove as if they'd lost all common sense. Are you insane? There's no way Dove would ever do something like that. Dove spread rumors, and told you to peddle them. How can you even say that with a straight face? Mia, the way you've hurt Dove shows your true character. It's over between us. Seeing my moment, I pulled out my phone and played a recording. I helpfully cranked the volume to max, making sure everyone in the office could hear Dove's vile, Slanderous words on the tape. I saw Sloane and Julian go into the hotel with my own eyes. They were all over each other. Sloane is Julian's mistress. In an instant, the office fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. Mia suddenly broke into a smile and stood beside me. Well, now you all know who the mastermind is, don't you? And you know exactly what kind of person Dove is. Huh, you all. Dove's eyes flew open in shock. I said coldly, I've known you were the mastermind all along. And I've already told Mrs. Sloane, but so many people in this company are blind and have water for brains, defending you as if you're some innocent angel. That's why we decided to put on this little show today. Dove, you are truly an eye-opener. Not only have you been spreading malicious rumors and framing Mrs. Sloane, but you've also been stirring up trouble, getting your colleagues to do your dirty work, and then throwing them under the bus when things go south. It's absolutely despicable. No, Dove turned deathly pale, her body swaying unsteadily. I waved my phone. The evidence is right here, undeniable. Don't even try to talk your way out of this. The recording proved she was spreading lies, and just now, in front of everyone, she tried to pin the blame on Mia. Irrefutable, our colleagues, having witnessed this whole farce firsthand, began to see the situation with clear eyes. Exactly. Why have I been helping Dove all this time? All she ever gave me was a single piece of candy, and she acts like I owe her the world for it. Mrs. Sloane has been so good to me. Why on earth have I been bending over backwards for Dove? Why did I ever think Dove was kind and sweet? Last time, Lila said that on the high-speed train, Dove was the one who started the argument, and Mrs. Sloane just told her to be quiet, but then Dove twisted the story. Came crying to us saying Mrs. Sloane bullied her. Any sensible person would have questioned her character. Why did I just blindly believe her version? And then there's Dove claiming she helps Lila with reports and presentations. The truth is, I've seen with my own eyes that it's Lila who's constantly covering for Dove's work. I don't know why, but my brain must have been addled. I ignored Lila and still chose to believe Dove. My colleagues chimed in one after another, pointing out numerous flaws and inconsistencies. Seeing them like this filled me with relief. It meant they had all awakened and would no longer be controlled by the novel's plot to serve as Dove's pawns. Dove is about to be abandoned by all. Dove knew the game was up. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. She was swaying unsteadily on her feet. Sloane strode up to her and slapped her hard across the face. Get out, you're fired. Effective immediately. Dove bit her lip, tears streaming down her cheeks. In the past, someone would have rushed to comfort her and defend her, but now everyone just watched coldly, treating her as a joke. Just as I thought Dove was about to be thrown out, a man strode in from outside, his voice sharp and cold. What's going on here? Why are you picking on Dove? Dove, as if grasping a lifeline, wiped her tears and cried out happily, Asher, Asher. A shiver ran down my spine. Sis, what era is this? Still calling him brother at the office. I turned my head to look at the man. Here he comes, he's here. The male lead makes his dazzling entrance at the critical moment, coming to the heroine's rescue. Are you okay? I'm fine. The male and female leads gazed into each other's eyes with deep affection, the air thick with romantic tension. The male lead is named Asher. He's the archetypal domineering CEO protagonist of the novel, handsome, elegant, and possessing all the qualities of a leading man. The only pity is that he's blind to what's right in front of him. The most off-putting part of this novel is how it forces the plot to make the male lead, a ridiculously wealthy heir, fall for the female lead. The author bankrupts him on purpose, stripping him of his fortune so he can briefly share a cheap rental with the female lead, Dove, to build their connection. But once he's broke, he's apparently no longer worthy of being the male lead, so he quickly regains his wealth and status, leaves Dove, only to reunite with her later at the company. The second cringeworthy aspect of the novel is the introduction of a scheming female rival, Sloane, solely to create artificial obstacles between the main couple. She's the quintessential spoiled heiress, born into extreme wealth. She sets her sights on the male lead, pursues him relentlessly, and is determined to marry him and no one else. Taking advantage of the male lead's family's financial hardship, she used her money to force him into an engagement, which is why Sloane is his fiancé. It's precisely because of a vile character like Sloane and her status as the fiancé that this dreadful novel managed to drag on for a torturous 1,000,000 words. But if you analyze the plot rationally and objectively, the male lead is clearly a gold digger. He lives off the female supporting character, spends her money, secretly cheats with the female lead, and even uses the supporting character's money to fund his affair. Ironically, this novel, riding on the wealthy family trope and its innocent White-Lotus protagonist, became quite popular. Sloane's expression darkened upon seeing Asher show concern for Dove. I suppose she must be jealous. In the novel, Sloane is portrayed as becoming hysterical and utterly vicious over a man, with a lackey like me, an assistant like me around. There's no need for the young mistress to lift a finger. President, you have no idea, this dove has been spreading malicious rumors everywhere and inciting others to target Mrs. Sloane behind her back. My mouth went off like a machine gun, rattling out the whole story in one go. In the novel, I'm the heroine's mouthpiece and henchwoman. I say all the things she can't, and even the things she wants to say but would damage her image. I do all the dirty work and take all the blame, while she just has to be strong and kind, reborn and back. The former bootlicker and mouthpiece, have switched sides. Now that I'm cozying up to the villainess, I naturally have to prove my worth. I laid it all out, crystal clear, exposing Dove's despicable nature in vivid detail. And then I brought Mia in to back me up. Having been backstabbed by Dove, Mia was desperate to prove her hypocrisy, and others soon chimed in, airing all of Dove's disgusting deeds. Asher, who had been acting all protective of Dove, was left utterly speechless, frozen in place upon realizing she was the real mastermind behind it all. 3. President, surely you wouldn't be so unreasonable as to shield such a vile and deceitful woman. Asher instinctively denied it. You're lying. Dove isn't that kind of person. I immediately produced the evidence, thrusting the recording right in his face. President, would you care to listen to the whole thing again, and then tell everyone that the voice in it isn't Dove's? The air grew heavy and still. Sloane's complexion improved slightly. Asher hesitated for a moment, then said, Julian and Sloane are relatives. It's perfectly normal for them to go to the same hotel. Dove saw them and got the wrong idea. So what's the big deal if I said a few words, So what if I said a few words? I was stunned, speechless, and so was everyone else. With all the evidence right in front of him, the male lead still defends Dove. Now that's what I call true love. I couldn't help but turn to look at Sloane. I couldn't tell what she was thinking. Her face was dark and stormy, yet she didn't lose her temper. All right then, Dove misspoke and should be punished, but she shouldn't be fired. Let's dock her a month's salary instead, Asher said. Walking up to Sloane with a pleading tone, Sloane, do me this favor, will you? It was a groveling tone, yet laced with a hint of condescension. Sloane asked, why are you defending her? What's your relationship? Asher paused, glanced back at Dove, and said, Dove helped me out when I was in a tough spot. We're friends, Sloane. She's my benefactor. Don't push things too far. Sloane chuckled. All right, for your sake. I'll just dock her a month's pay this time. Let's give it to Lila and Mia. What? Dove's salary is 8 or 9,000, even split evenly. That's over 4,000. It's like money falling from the sky, Mia and I exclaimed excitedly. Thank you, boss. You two have done excellent work. Effective immediately, Lila gets a monthly raise of 10,000, and Mia gets 5,000. As for Dove, her salary is reduced by 2,000. That's my final decision. With that, our formidable supervisor, Mrs. Sloane, clicked her heels and strode back to her office. Dove wept silently. Lila offered a few words of comfort before quickly making her exit. After this incident, everyone realized Dove was a two-faced hypocrite, spreading rumors behind people's backs, using others as pawns, and constantly shifting blame. Who would dare to associate with someone like that? What if you got stabbed in the back? Dove was completely isolated, with everyone keeping their distance. Whenever she walked by, her coworkers would whisper and gossip about her. Dove was utterly heartbroken. Her misery is my delight. That was a masterfully executed victory. Mia and I went out to celebrate that night, thinking Dove would finally keep her head down. To our surprise, on the third day, she made a grand entrance at the office, rolling up in Asher's car. This move made those who had been keeping their distance from her unable to resist drawing closer. Asking why she had arrived in Asher's car, Dove simply smiled without answering. During conversations at the office, she would also casually mention, whether on purpose or not, that she had come in Asher's car. Naturally, her colleagues were curious. How come you arrived in the CEO's car? Don't tell me you're his girlfriend. Dove didn't answer, but her expression and action spoke volumes. In the novel, Dove and Asher's relationship was a secret for a long time before it was finally exposed. This is because the plot required some clueless side characters to bully the female lead, only for the male lead to swoop in and save the day. After hundreds of chapters of this kind of face-slapping drama, the two finally made their relationship public. I can't believe Dove went public with it so early this time. She's probably been the subject of gossip lately and is desperate to salvage her pride and status. By the afternoon, the news that Dove was Asher's girlfriend had spread throughout the entire company. Asher publicly defended her a few days ago. She rode to work in his car today, and she hasn't denied the rumors about them. Everyone is convinced she's Asher's girlfriend. As soon as I heard about it, I rushed to tell Sloane. Sloane's face instantly darkened. That bitch, she said to me. You did well. I'm giving you a 5,000 yuan raise. I just love being the loyal sidekick to the villainess. I immediately declared, I will go through fire and water for Mrs. Sloane without a second thought. Being the mouthpiece and lackey for the female lead got me nothing. I ended up 200,000 in debt and was run over by a car. As the henchman for the wicked supporting female character, my salary is tens of thousands, and every single time, Miss Chu paid up front, transferring the money without fail. After becoming Asher's girlfriend, Dove's standing in the company skyrocketed. The entire department stopped giving her the cold shoulder and instead rushed to curry favor with her, eager to repair her image and build better relationships. Dove invited the whole department to a dinner at the Yunsan Hotel. Everyone was invited except for me, Sloane, and Mia. After all, the three of us have thoroughly offended her and are her sworn enemies. There's no reason for her to invite us. The Yunsan Hotel. I've heard the food there is incredibly expensive. Absolutely. A single bottle of wine there can cost tens of thousands. Dove, are we really going to the Yunsan Hotel? Dove's salary was only 8,000 to begin with, and now it's been cut by another 2,000. So when she suddenly invited so many people to dinner at the Cloud Forest Hotel, everyone couldn't help but wonder if she could actually afford it. Dove smiled as she listened to everyone's flattery and announced, that's right, it's the Cloud Forest Hotel. I do hope you'll all honor me with your presence tonight. The group laughed half-heartedly, their enthusiasm noticeably low. Dove added, Asher will be there too. Once everyone realized Asher was footing the bill, they immediately agreed. Of course, no one wanted to cross Sloane, but they were even more afraid of offending Asher. After all, Asher is the CEO of the entire company, while Sloane is just a director who parachuted in not long ago. Who knows how long he'll last. It's not worth angering the CEO over a director, is it? Besides, it's just a dinner. A lot of people are going to the hotel tonight to show their support. When Sloane found out, she declared with a wave of her hand, we're going too. I hesitated. Is that really okay? We weren't invited. Sloane shot me a look. I have a private room I always book. Thank you, Mrs. Sloane. I wouldn't dream of refusing. I immediately started buttering her up. Right, who is Sloane? She's the eldest daughter of the Chu family, as if she'd ever stooped to mooching a meal. At 7 p.m., Mia and I arrived at the hotel in Sloane's luxury car. Dove was greeting guests at the hotel entrance. When she saw us, she sneered, talk about shameless. I certainly didn't invite some people, yet here they are, crashing the party for a free meal. Wow, Dove isn't even trying to hide it anymore, with Asher backing her up. She's really feeling her oats now. Sloane didn't even give her a second glance and walked straight ahead. I said to Dove, don't flatter yourself. Okay, Mrs. Sloane is loaded. She's had a private room booked for ages. Why on earth would she need to mooch off your dinner? And speaking of which, didn't you claim to be above money? Is this dinner on you tonight? Or are you just spending some man's cash again? Oh dear, where's your dignity, your backbone? Dove's face flushed with anger. Turning pale then red, she spat out, Lila. You really are a lapdog, I exclaimed in mock shock. Wow, everyone, listen up, our pure and virtuous Dove is actually hurling insults. Mia backed me up, saying, she's already spreading rumors and stabbing her colleagues in the back. She's full of malice. Isn't it perfectly normal for someone like that to curse at people? True, I nodded. I just don't get what President Ching sees in her. She's average looking, comes from an ordinary family, and her skills are a complete mess. The only decent quality she seemed to have, being kind, turned out to be fake. Even if the president had a momentary lapse in judgment, surely his family wouldn't be foolish enough to let a woman like her marry into their wealthy family, right? The others wore thoughtful expressions. Mia, who utterly despised Dove, exclaimed loudly, well, someone like the president has seen plenty of virtuous, kind-hearted women. Maybe he just wants to change things up for a bit, try out a nasty, vile woman for a taste. He might just toss her aside after a few days anyway. Dove's face turned deathly pale, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. Defeated, she quickly made her exit. I scoffed lightly. How dare you provoke me? You should know your place. Mia also rolled her eyes dramatically. Trying to use her boyfriend to humiliate us. I don't believe the CEO would actually fire me for her. I scurried over to Sloane, eager for praise. Mrs. Sloane, how did we do? A smile played on Sloane's lips. Not bad. I'm feeling quite refreshed. Upon reaching the private room, the hotel manager, having heard of Sloane's arrival, hurried over to attend to her. Miss Sloane, to what do we owe this immense honor? Your presence truly lights up our humble establishment. After ordering, Sloane tossed the menu to us. Order whatever you like. Mia and I exchanged a look, our eyes widening at the prices on the menu. Sloane turned to the director and said, oh, and cancel my supplementary card. From now on, no one's expenses are to be charged to my account, especially Asher's. Every penny he spends is his own business. The director was taken aback for a moment but asked no questions. Yes, Miss Sloane, he replied. Mia and I were stunned and began whispering to each other. Did you hear what Mrs. Sloane just said? I did, she said. Asher can't put his tabs on her account anymore. Don't tell me the CEO used to have his meals charged to her. It's entirely possible. Our Mrs. Sloan is someone whose word is law, but why would Asher's meals be charged to Mrs. Sloan's account in the first place? I'm genuinely shocked. I knew the male lead was a freeloader, but I never imagined he'd stoop this low. How on earth did someone like him land the male lead role? The dishes arrived one after another, and Mia and I dug in with gusto, wolfing everything down. Once we were full and satisfied, we left the private room to find a noisy crowd packed into the main hall. It was Dove and her crew. Asher was among them, looking rather disheveled. Are you sure this card is frozen? He kept pressing the manager. There's clearly $500,000 in there, the manager said. I'm sorry, Mr. Chang, but Ms. Chu has indeed suspended the card. Asher turned and, seeing Sloan leading us out, immediately rushed up to her. Sloan, how could you freeze my card? I couldn't believe the sheer audacity of his righteous indignation. I've never seen a man be so shamelessly proud of being a freeloader. Sloan sneered. Your card? That's clearly my card, Asher snapped. Why on earth would you freeze it? Sloan, well, you used my card to prop up that bitch. The same one who spread disgusting rumors about me and went around claiming to be your girlfriend, and you, as my fiancé, did nothing. You let those lies spread, and now you even have the nerve to show up tonight to support her. Asher, I'm honestly baffled. What on earth did I ever see in a piece of trash like you? Seriously, I've been so upset these past few days, I just can't wrap my head around it. What did I ever see in you? What exactly was so appealing? You're average looking at best, and your character is a complete mess. Was I out of my mind? How could I have ever chosen someone like you to be my fiancé? It was clear that Miss Chu was genuinely furious and deeply disappointed in herself, for, I let out a deep sigh, young mistress, it's because this world is a ridiculous novel, utterly illogical, and devoid of any moral compass, so, a wealthy young lady like you is destined to do foolish things for a man, fight a life-and-death battle with a hypocritical little White-Lotus, and end up in a tragic state. As a rational office worker, I'm supposed to go through hell and high water for the female lead over a single meal, become her lackey, and then, in the ultimate act of stupidity, take out a 200,000 yuan online loan for her and die under the wheels of a car. Every word Sloan uttered left the entire room in shock. What? Asher is Sloan's fiancé. So, is Dove actually Asher's girlfriend or not? If she's not his girlfriend, why didn't Asher deny it? And why is he hosting this dinner tonight? So if she's Asher's girlfriend, but Asher already has a fiancé, that means Asher is cheating, right? Hearing everyone's gossip, I, as the loyal sidekick, naturally had to step up and set the record straight. That's right, our Mrs. Sloan is Asher's official girlfriend, the fiancé chosen by both families. Dove is just the other woman. The most outrageous part is, this despicable pair paid for the whole thing using our Mrs. Sloan's card. Today, Dove was hosting and deliberately said in front of me that Mrs. Sloan wasn't invited, just to humiliate her, and then it turns out they had to use Mrs. Sloan's card to pay for it all. It's so absurd and disgusting. You wouldn't even read something this twisted in a novel. Sloan's gaze held nothing but admiration for me. Bolstered by this encouragement, I straightened my back and rattled off a litany of Dove's misdeeds, leaving everyone in the hotel utterly astonished. Asher panicked on the spot, not wanting to lose face. He quickly said to Sloan, "No. It's not what you think between me and Dove." Sloan let out a cold laugh. Then why don't you tell everyone clearly, are you and this bitch a couple or not? Asher's face flushed with a mix of anger and humiliation. We're just friends, he muttered, his voice tight with frustration. Dove looked at him, stunned. Asher couldn't bring himself to meet her gaze. Sloan held out her hand. Give me the supplementary card. Asher quickly handed her the card. The bill is 150,000. Sloan tossed the supplementary card at me carelessly. I'd rather give this card to a dog than let you use it. Pay your own bill. Holding the card, I felt a bit awkward. Did she just call me a dog? Sloan paused, then said to me, the money in here is for you to use. What I said earlier wasn't aimed at you. It was just a figure of speech. She offered a clumsy explanation, but stopped short of an apology. Then, awkwardly, she added, there's another 500,000 in the card. Consider it compensation. What? $500,000 in compensation? Who needs an apology for $500,000? I was so excited I blurted out, don't worry, miss, give me 500K, and you can call me a dog every day. I'd be happy to take it. The others looked on with faces full of envy and resentment. Sloan led us away without a second glance. 9. Over the next few days, Asher relentlessly pursued Sloan, showering her with flowers and gifts, trying every trick in the book to win her over. But Sloane remained unmoved. No one knows how they work things out, but somehow, everything settled down. Once they settled down, Dev was in for a rough time. She was once again mocked and ostracized by the entire company. Everyone knew she was the other woman. Dev resigned shortly after. She couldn't bear to stay at the company any longer. This time, Asher didn't try to stop her, and she slunk away amidst a chorus of scorn. Dev got what he deserved. The female lead is out of the picture. Maybe the plot will change now. My mood has improved tremendously. Over the weekend, I went shopping. The young mistress has been very generous with me lately, so I decided to treat myself to a luxury handbag. I was just browsing the bags when Dev's snide voice came from behind me. Well, if it isn't Sloane's little lapdog. I turned around. Dev was chatting and laughing with two other girls, sharing the story of Sloane calling me a dog as a joke. They all stared at me in shock, their eyes filled with contempt. That's right, she called me a dog, I said, but she gave me 500,000 as compensation. If you're willing to give me 500,000, you can call me a dog every single day. The two girls were stunned. 500,000. Dev spat out in disgust. Selling your dignity for money? I looked down on you. I crossed my arms. Oh, look who's talking. Someone who's a homewrecker, spreads nasty rumors behind people's backs, and sponges off a man to pay for everything. Oh, and by the way, that man was using another woman's money all along. How dare you? And now you have the nerve to lecture me about dignity. Dev, you shameless mistress. How can you even say that? Every word I said hit a nerve. Dev was absolutely livid. Lila, you'll pay for this. Her two best friends immediately started cursing and shouting. I remained unfazed. Dev, you'd better not provoke me again, or you might end up with nothing. Don't you worry about me, Dev said. I'm just here to buy a bag today. Who knew I'd run into a bitch like you? I was a bit curious. Dev's whole persona was that of a poor, delicate flower. She had no money to speak of. How could she possibly afford luxury goods? Where did you get that money? I asked. I know exactly what your situation is. Dev's expression changed. Her lackey immediately jumped to her defense. What's it to you? So Dev's family isn't well off, but her boyfriend is loaded. He's a CEO who drives a luxury car. Boyfriend. I raised an eyebrow. So, who's this boyfriend of yours? Asher. Dev was flustered for a second. None of your business. And no, it's not him. I wasn't about to let this go. A luxury car. What kind? Don't tell me you're calling some beat-up old thing a luxury car, her friend chimed in. It's a Rolls-Royce. There's only one in the whole city. Dev drove it here today just to take us shopping for bags. A Rolls-Royce? I asked. It's not gold, is it? My best friend said smugly. You got it. All right, that's enough. Dev quickly pulled her friend away to go buy a bag. A gold Rolls-Royce. There's only one in the whole city. Isn't that the male lead's signature ride, Dev? Running into me is your misfortune. You didn't back down. You even provoked me. You're asking for it. Stepping out of the store, I immediately called Sloane to report. Mrs. Sloane, Asher is still seeing Dev. He even let her drive his beloved gold Rolls-Royce. Dev is at the mall right now. Sloane's voice was cold. Fine, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Wait, that soon. I put away my phone and stood guard outside the shop. I needed to keep a close eye on Dev. Roughly 10 minutes later, Sloane came into view, clicking along in her high heels, flanked by two hulking bodyguards. Asher followed behind, his face ashen. Where is he? Sloane demanded. I pointed to the shop next door. With a wave of Sloane's hand, two bodyguards rushed into the shop and dragged Dev out. The commotion drew a crowd from the mall, who gathered around to watch. What do you think you're doing, robbing me in broad daylight? Dev was screaming in a panic. Sloane walked over and slapped her across the face. Settle down, you stole my car, and you're going down for it this time. What car theft? What are you trying to do? Dev's two best friends were also panicking. A bodyguard nearby said, the gold Rolls-Royce that Dev was driving is registered under our young mistress's name. It was parked safely in the garage, but today it vanished into thin air. Turns out this woman stole it. We just inspected the car and found damage. Stealing and damaging a luxury vehicle worth 10 million. She's definitely going to jail. I didn't do it. I'm innocent. Dev screamed hysterically, tears streaming down her face as she stared at Asher in terror. What's going on? You told me this was your car. I just drove it to the mall. Asher didn't know how to respond. He turned to Sloane and said, this is my fault. Dev didn't steal your car. I lent it to her. Sloane slapped him hard across the face. You pathetic bastard. You always find a way to make me despise you even more, to sink to new lows. I lent you that car to help you keep up appearances, to cover up the fact your family went bankrupt, and this is how you repay me, cheating with that homewrecker, letting her spread disgusting rumors about me, using my money to take her out to eat, and lending her my car to drive. Do you remember which pathetic bastard was on his knees in front of me just a few days ago? swearing he was done with Dove and would devote himself to me completely. Which pathetic bastard was that? Asher turned pale from the verbal lashing. The onlookers wore looks of contempt, pulling out their phones to take photos and videos, with some even live streaming the scene. Come quick, check this out. Fresh drama, the wife catching the mistress red-handed, a classic cheating scumbag scene. The scumbag is the absolute worst. He used his wife's money to take the mistress out, lent her the wife's car, and just stood by while the mistress bullied his wife. Many people didn't understand the full story or what led up to this. That's when I, the loyal sidekick, made my entrance. I stood among the gossiping crowd and laid out the whole story with dramatic flair, making sure everyone understood just how despicable that scumbag and that wretched woman were. Oh my god, so that's how it is, just here for the drama. Wait! Wasn't this guy supposed to be the Ching family's golden boy? Turns out he went bankrupt ages ago, and even the car he drives belongs to the Chu family's eldest daughter. 5. Asher desperately covered his face, wanting to leave but unable to move. After the scene at the mall, the whole internet knew about Asher and Dove's despicable behavior. It became known that Asher was a gold digger and Dove was the other woman. Their reputations were utterly ruined, naturally. All their colleagues at the company were aware of everything. It later came out that Asher only got to be the CEO of this company because of his connections to Sloane. He used to treat Sloane horribly, yet Sloane, as if out of her mind, would just take the abuse and still humbly hand over money. That's when I found out that even the house Asher lived in belonged to Sloane. Everything he had was given by her, including an extra $100,000 in monthly allowance. So there he was, living off Sloane, using her things, all while dating Dove and supporting her. Absolutely outrageous. Everything was supposed to follow the novel's plot. Sloane would learn the truth, go mad, yet still foolishly continue to support the two of them. But with my presence as a variable, I not only awakened the surrounding supporting characters, but I also awakened Sloane herself. Sloane became completely disillusioned with Asher. She couldn't fathom why she had ever been infatuated with him, why she had been so desperate for him, fawning over him only to be met with contempt. Asher was stripped of his position and unceremoniously kicked out. Sloane took back everything and presented him with an exorbitant bill, demanding repayment. Asher pleaded on his knees, but she remained unmoved, because Sloane insisted the car was stolen. The reckless Dove was sent to prison as the thief. If she didn't go to prison, it would mean Asher stole the car for her, and Asher would be the one imprisoned. To save himself, Asher had no choice but to abandon her. Dove was utterly shocked, her eyes blazing with fury. Asher told her he would fight her case in court and swore she wouldn't go to prison. It was unclear whether Dove took his words to heart. 11. A few days later, I heard shocking news. Dove had stabbed Asher to death. It turned out that after Dove was detained, Asher had gone to great lengths to bail her out. Back at the rental, Dove, desperate to avoid jail, wanted Asher to confess that he was the one who stole the car and lent it to her. Asher refused. He had been taking a brutal beating from Sloane lately and was in no position to negotiate, so he tried his best to placate Dove, urging her to take the fall first. A fierce argument erupted between them. Dove had nothing left, and after being humiliated time and again, his mental state was extremely fragile. As their argument escalated, Dove, in a fit of rage, grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed Asher to death. Asher was dead, and Dove was sent to prison. Justice always prevails in the end. Upon hearing the news, I breathed a deep sigh of relief. The male lead is dead. The female lead is sentenced to life in prison. The entire plot of the novel has been completely altered. I will absolutely not let my fate repeat the same mistakes. The next day, Sloane called me into her office and said, "Lila, ever since meeting you, my mind has become much clearer. At first, I was confused. Rationally, I knew I shouldn't have feelings for Asher, but sometimes I just couldn't help myself. Whenever you're around, I can stay calm, view the whole situation objectively, and handle things rationally. Before, when I was Asher's patron, it brought me nothing but trouble. Now, could I offer you the same arrangement I had with him? I just ask that you stay by my side. What? You want to be my sugar daddy mommy? If you're going to be my sugar parent, that means a mansion, a Rolls Royce, a $100K monthly allowance, a black card with no spending limit, and making me the CEO so I can throw my weight around." After just a moment's hesitation, I said with profound gravity, "You know, I've occasionally thought I could probably learn to like women." Sloane shot me a glare. "What are you thinking?" "I just have this constant feeling that something's off about my life and surroundings. You're the only one who helps me stay sane and objective, so I need you by my side until I feel like I'm back in control. Who you date is none of my business. Whether you like women or not doesn't concern me. Just don't like me. Okay, I'm not gay." I let out a sigh of relief and laughed. "Mrs. Sloane, as you wish. Your servant Lila is at your command." Story 2. My sister dropped out of school to work in a factory for some guy. In my past life, that same man made me a billionaire. She tried to follow my path, only to be sold off for a dowry. She never expected we'd have a baby brother this time around. We're too poor to afford schooling for both of you. Let's draw straws to decide. Father clutched 2 wooden sticks in his hand, his face twisted in anguish. Whoever draws the shorter stick gets to stay in school, Irene. You're the younger sister, you draw first. This familiar scene made me realize I'd been reborn. 1. I stared fixedly at the wooden stick, fragments of memories flashing through my mind, the terror when my sister pushed me, the agony of my fatal fall, yet my thoughts swiftly returned to that fateful choice in my past life. Last time, I chose the stick on the right, and that decision sealed my fate, barring me from education forever. But the truth is, my grades were far better than my sister's. I even got admitted to the most prestigious high school in our city with the highest college acceptance rate. As for my sister, even if she worked her hardest in high school, she'd only managed to get into a second-tier college at best. Given our family's financial struggles, investing in my education would have been the most beneficial choice for everyone. Yet my parents insisted on leaving it to chance. They decided everything by drawing lots. Because my parents always favored my older sister, I've always known this, so I'm just grateful to get this lottery chance. Ever since childhood, they'd buy new clothes for her but never for me. They'd always say her hand-me-downs fit me perfectly, and buying me new clothes would be a waste of money. As the second-born daughter, I've always been on the receiving end of my family's resentment. My sister was their first child, the product of their love, so of course they adored her, and me. Grandma wanted a grandson. They risked fines to have a second child, only to end up with me, another girl. My birth cost the family thousands in lost income overnight. Grandma despised me, and by extension treated Mom like dirt, so after giving birth to me, Mom suffered terribly during her confinement. She couldn't bring herself to resent Grandma or Dad. All her bitterness fell on me. She blames me for all this. Back then, the fine for a second child was a few thousand. While a third child would cost tens of thousands, they couldn't afford to try for a third child just to get a son, so they saw me as standing in the way of their son's arrival, their little curse. Mom wanted to name me Wanyu, meaning the unwanted one. Grandma suggested Wanyo, hoping I'd die young. If I died, their next child would still count as their second, sparing them the hefty fine for a third birth. In the end, Dad changed my name to Irene to avoid becoming the village laughingstock. My sister was named Lola because they wished her a future where all roads would lead to success, smooth sailing all the way. In my past life, right after middle school exams, I followed villagers to work in a garment factory. At 15, most proper factories wouldn't hire me, and the pay was pitifully low. Shifts often meant overnight work, pulling at least 12-hour days. I had to send over half my monthly wages back home for my sister's education. When I first arrived at the factory, I couldn't even afford a blanket. My parents only gave me travel money, nothing else. Luckily, the southern summer heat made it barely tolerable until payday. My life only began to improve after I got together with the factory director's son. Later, riding the wave of e-commerce, the factory made tens of millions, and I suddenly became a wealthy housewife, although my sister eventually got into a second-tier college. As living standards rose, college graduates became a dime a dozen. The moment my sister got into college marked the pinnacle of her life. Up to that point, only after graduation did she realize how tough the job market was, and the pay wasn't great either. Later, my sister married her college boyfriend, and they both worked in his small hometown, earning just over 5,000 yuan a month combined. As they say, when poverty comes in the door, love flies out the window. Their conflicts kept growing. Meanwhile, I'd always return home in a luxury car, loaded with fancy gifts. My sister's mind became increasingly warped. After discovering her husband's infidelity, she finally snapped, blaming me for everything. Her face was contorted with rage when she pushed me over the edge. How dare you be so wealthy? You never even went to school. What right do you have to live better than me? Die. In my panic, I grabbed her and pulled her down with me, sending us both tumbling off the cliff. My thoughts snapped back as I fixed my gaze on the wooden stick to the left. In my past life, I chose the right stick and missed my chance at education. This time, I'm picking the left one. This time, I'll definitely be the one who gets to go to school. Suppressing my excitement, I swiftly grabbed the left stick with trembling hands. Dad, my stick is shorter. Before I could finish, Dad opened his palm. Yet the outcome took me by surprise once more. The stick in Dad's hand was visibly shorter than mine. His tone carried the same regret as in our past life. Irene, seems luck wasn't on your side. You drew the long stick, so your sister gets the education. You'll work to pay her tuition now. Maybe she'll help you out someday when she's successful. In disbelief, I took both sticks in my hand. Last time, I chose the right one. It was the longer stick. I chose the left one this time. Yet it's still the longer stick. After staring at those two sticks for minutes, everything finally clicked. Rage and bitterness instantly flooded my chest. No wonder they insisted on letting me go first this time. Turns out they'd made their choice long ago. Too, no matter what I chose, my sister would always be the one to get an education, because they could snap that longer stick any time they wanted, just like clipping my wings, ensuring I'd never escape their grasp. Their hypocritical fabrication of an equal choice forced me to swallow my grievances and work to put my sister through school. They drained me dry while mocking my misfortune. No matter how hard life was before, I never resented my parents for not having money to educate me, because this was the hand I was dealt. I never blamed my bad luck, I just gave it my all. But now, I saw Mom visibly relax the moment Dad announced the result. They exchanged knowing smiles, eyes gleaming with smug satisfaction. I was just too young in my past life to see through it all. Suddenly nothing seemed to matter anymore. Fine, no education then. With my past life's experience, making money this time will be a breeze. Before I could even agree to accept this, my sister rushed in like mad to stop it. No, let Irene go to school, I'll be the one working. Her sister's eyes sparkled with unrestrained joy and excitement. She clung desperately to their father's arm, nearly tearing his sleeve. Nonsense. Mom snapped at my sister, frowning with displeasure while frantically shooting her warning glances. What future could you possibly have without education? You'll end up toiling in factories, barely scraping by, and never amounting to anything. I smiled bitterly, so Mom knew all along. But in my past life, when I was chosen for factory work, all they said was, Irene, your sister's working so hard with her studies while you're out there making money. How wonderful. My sister shot Mom a disapproving look, her gaze sweeping over me with calculating sharpness. Mom, education's worthless these days. With so many college graduates around, degrees don't mean a thing anymore. Might as well start working early and marry rich. A woman's worth ultimately depends on who she marries. With my looks, I might just end up with the boss's son when I go work, then I'll be the boss's wife. The moment Lola said that, I knew she'd been reborn too. Her words sounded far too mature for a teenage girl, making her father frown involuntarily. What could someone your age possibly understand? Her mother continued persuading, Lola, you shouldn't talk back like this. Education makes all the difference. With a degree, you could marry into the city. Your future in-laws would respect you more. The more she spoke, the more ironic it felt. Mom, if I wait until after college, I'll be too old. Rich guys always prefer younger girls. Lola retorted anxiously. My mom seemed to think she had a point, but still found Lola too impulsive. You're really quitting school? Absolutely, Lola said with determination, walking over to me with a knowing smirk. Fine then, if you won't study, you two sisters might as well work at the factory together. At least you'll have company, Mom declared. How is this fair? I can't take this anymore. When my sister was in school, I couldn't go. Now that she's dropped out, I still can't get an education. Bottom line, they just don't want to spend any more money on me. I was about to argue further when Lola stepped in and resolved the issue for me. She said with heartfelt sincerity, Mom, little sister must continue her education. Our family needs a college graduate, otherwise, the whole village will laugh at us. Thanks to Lola's persuasion, my parents finally agreed to let me continue school, but her circumstances were completely different from my past life. When I left home in my previous life, they told me, don't cause trouble out there, endure everything, don't waste money, and send her paycheck home immediately. But for Lola, her parents gave her thousands of dollars, worried she might feel uncomfortable living away from home. Take this money and buy whatever you need. Don't hold back. Don't worry about the family. Spend your hard-earned cash however you please. Then they turned to me. Your sister gave up her chance at education for you. When you get into college, never forget her. She's your benefactor. I stayed silent. With parents this unfair, I'd already given up on them. Not a single penny of mine will they ever see again. All right, I get it, Lola snapped impatiently. The next day, Lola set off for factory work in the south, guided by fellow villagers. As she left, she suddenly leaned in and whispered, my turn to live the high life this time around. I pretended not to understand, bowing my head meekly to humor her. Sis, you're definitely going to marry rich, when Lola couldn't detect anything unusual from my expression. She snorted contemptuously and walked away, yet within 3 months, Lola came running back. Impossible. The moment she returned, she cornered me at the school gate and confronted me aggressively. When did you first meet Eli? Eli was my husband in my past life, the one who gave me support and patience. In that lifetime, I didn't meet him until I was 19. He was still studying abroad at the time. I couldn't help chuckling to myself. Lola really was slow on the uptake. Taking 3 whole months to figure this out, I pretended not to understand anything and asked her back in confusion, "Who's Eli? We don't even have a classmate named Eli. Stop playing dumb." Lola wasn't buying it at all. I looked her over. She changed into trendy clothes with smoky eye makeup, the hottest look right now. "I genuinely have no idea what you're talking about, sis. Did you encounter something supernatural?" She stared at me for several minutes but gave up when she couldn't detect anything unusual about me. Since school was on break anyway, we headed home together. The moment we arrived, my sister called out Mom, and our mother rushed over immediately. "Lola, you're back." Her face lit up with joy as she fussed over her sister. Worried she might have had a hard time away from home, only after learning her sister simply wanted to come home did she finally relax. "Oh, you silly girl, couldn't you have given me a heads up? I would have prepared all your favorite dishes." I chuckled softly while quietly picking vegetables by the side. School breaks follow a fixed schedule, with time off every 2 weeks, yet every time I came home, there was never any food waiting for me. Instead, they'd always make me do their laundry and cook for them. She gently touched her sister's clothes, her eyes brimming with tenderness. "This fabric feels wonderful, and it looks great on you. My daughter has such good taste in fashion." I just mentally rolled my eyes. Last time I visited for New Year's wearing new clothes, she made passive-aggressive remarks about me being wasteful. They scrimp and save at home while I'm out here splurging money left and right, only caring about my own pleasure. In the end, Mom forcibly took my brand new outfit and gave it to my sister. Now, my mother looked at me with pure disdain in her eyes. "Dress like a beggar every day. God knows who you take after." I looked down at my worn-out clothes, hand-me-downs from my sister, faded from countless washes. When I stayed silent, she kept nagging. "All that reading turned you into a mute, always moping around like a depressed gourd." I remained silent, not out of submission, but because I needed to sever this aching compassion for my parents. This isn't something easily done, which is why so many daughters yearning to escape their birth families are trapped in agony. The heart simply won't harden, even knowing they don't love me. I still ache when I see them suffer. Only when I've exhausted all my compassion for them can I truly let go. My sister was quite pleased with this. She looked at Mom and said somewhat sheepishly, "Mom, I want to come back to continue my studies." I knew Lola wasn't the type to endure hardships, otherwise she wouldn't have followed her husband back to that small county town right after college. The pay in small towns may not be high, but the workload is genuinely light. Once you've had that kind of job, you'd never adjust to the grueling shift work in factories. The fact that she lasted 3 months was beyond my expectations. Mom was happy at first, then hesitated. "But we can't afford to support both of you." Lola's gaze settled on me. I knew she was scheming something involving me again. 3. But I'm no longer someone my family can just give up on whenever they please. Right after starting school, I entered a municipal essay competition and won a 3,000 yuan prize. I gave them every penny. My teachers told them I had a bright future ahead, and that it was only a matter of time before I could help lift our family out of hardship. The school also said there'd be many more competitions like this. They couldn't bear to quit now. My academic success brings them face, not to mention financial benefits. Back in those days, a factory girl's monthly wage barely scraped 1,500 yuan at most. "Mom, with so many top students at first high, there's no guarantee little sis will get in. She might as well start working now, or let her come work with me. I'm all alone out here with nobody to watch my back. Always getting pushed around." Lola buried her face in Mom's arms, crying pitifully, but this time my mother pushed her away. "Lola, your little sister really should continue her education." "But Mom, she could make 1,500 a month working outside. If she starts earning sooner, that's nearly 20,000 a year for the family." Mom was visibly tempted. She looked at Lola expectantly and blurted out, "Really? Then Lola, how much have you managed to save up?" Lola's face suddenly turned deathly pale. She fidgeted nervously, wringing her hands, too afraid to answer the question. "Mom, everything's so expensive down south. The living costs are high. I haven't been able to save much." My mother pursed her lips but remained silent. "Fine, as long as your salary covers your expenses. I don't expect you to save much right now, but I need you to return the few thousand I gave you before you left. Now that you're earning, I want to renovate the house. The roof keeps leaking." Lola's face turned even paler, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've spent all that money too." "What?" My mother's voice turned shrill and piercing as she shot up from her chair, staring at Lola in disbelief. "With a monthly salary of 1,500, that's 4,500 in 3 months, right before you left. Your father and I gave you nearly 5,000, and in just 3 months, you've blown through all that money." I could see her hands trembling. Lola hung her head low, enduring her mother's scolding without a word. "That was nearly 10,000 yuan, and you spent every last cent. Mom, You have no idea how expensive it is out there. I'm completely new to the place and don't know my way around. That's exactly why I need my sister to come with me. Now that I've gotten familiar with everything, we'll be able to save a good chunk of our paychecks." My mother let out a sigh. "Lola, Irene's doing really well in school. She's already earned the family $3,000 just from her studies. If she keeps it up, she'll make even more in the future. If you're serious about continuing your education, wait till next year. You've already fallen behind this semester, but by next year you'll have saved up some money and our financial situation will be better. It'll be the perfect time to go back to school then." My mother still hoped Lola would continue her education, reminding her not to neglect her textbooks even while working. In the end, Lola had to go back to working at the factory. That's just how it is. She made her choice. When she left home again, she shot me a glare full of resentment. As if all the hardship she's enduring now is somehow my fault. What's so great about being book smart? Future graduates won't even make as much as migrant workers. Watching her retreating figure, I silently made up my mind. My sister has always seen me as her imaginary rival. It was true in our past lives, and remains so in this one. As long as our parents show me favor, even if I succeed in the future, my sister will never let me be. When my sister was born in a previous life, my mom insisted I give her a 20,000 yuan red envelope, saying that as her younger sister from the maternal family, this was the only way to ensure she'd have dignity in her husband's household. When I got married, my sister neither gave me a red envelope nor any wedding gift. I had no choice since I married young. They said unmarried people weren't expected to give monetary gifts. Later, when my sister had a baby, my mom again pressured me to buy solid gold bracelets for both my sister and her newborn son. Whenever something happens at my sister's place, Mom always finds excuses to make me foot the bill. But when it's my turn, she'd say, "She's your sister. Why are you being so calculative with family? You're better off financially. Shouldn't you be helping your sister more?" I wouldn't mind spending money on my sister if she didn't see me as a rival and try to harm me after taking advantage, but in her eyes, I'm the one who stole her success. She's always viewed us as sworn enemies. In that case, I'll cut off her lifeline. Her only security was her parents' favor. What if they stopped doting on her? The moment my sister left, I started packing to leave too. When I asked Mom for living expenses before leaving, she acted like it was wrenching her heart out. "Just order one dish at school, eat less and spend wisely." Truth be told, I'm not short on money. With my past life experience, making money comes easily to me now. Between writing articles and flipping goods, I've already saved up nearly 10 grand from various side hustles. But why shouldn't I take the allowance I'm entitled to? They're my parents. Supporting me is their responsibility. If I pinch pennies and shortchange myself out of pity for them, that money will just end up lining someone else's pockets. I know I need to get a gift for my classmate. She just got a baby brother. We're close, so I want to buy a small toy for her little sibling. My mom's eyes instantly lit up, though her tone dripped with disdain. "Your classmate's mom, she's pushing 40, isn't she? Having a baby at that age. How embarrassing." "Oh, it's not that unusual. I thought it was weird too at first. But my friend told me there are plenty of new moms older than her mother at the hospital." My mother listened intently to my words and fell into deep thought. Distracted by her worries, Mom accidentally gave me 10 extra bucks. Now all I needed to do was wait patiently. All these years, my parents' only regret was not having a son. Back then we couldn't afford to have kids, both financially and physically. But now there's no penalty for having extra children. They'd never pass up this chance. Sure enough, when I came home for winter break, I noticed Mom moving with extra caution. Dad even started competing to do the heavy chores. For once they lived like a loving, harmonious couple. They never told me about the pregnancy, and I pretended to know nothing. I just buried myself in studying. Studying comes easier to me now than in my past life, though I'd neglected it for years. Once the penny dropped, everything became simpler. My sister returned during New Year's, dressed in a brand new white padded coat with black sheer stockings and knee-high boots, an outfit that stood out starkly against our village backdrop. The moment she walked in, she started complaining about how cold the house was and demanded we install an AC. "It's so warm in Guangzhou. This house is freezing." "Fine, I'll pay for it myself." My mom's eyes lit up at that, immediately agreeing. Lola gave me a smug look, as if saying, "See, Mom always spoils me, that fool." Mom only agreed to the air conditioner for the sake of the baby in her belly. I didn't respond, just kept playing the silent bookworm. Ever since coming home, Lola's been wandering around the village showing off to anyone who'd listen. By afternoon, the whole village knew she'd come into better days. When Lola got home for dinner, only cold leftovers remained on the table. Lola completely lost it. This was the first time she'd seen leftovers. Usually they'd wait for her return before cooking. just so she could have hot meals, but now with another expected child in mom's belly, their hungry son naturally wouldn't wait for Lola anymore. How laughable, all these years of envied affection were effortlessly stolen by an unborn son. I thought at least his birth would be the trigger for this. For a fleeting moment, I even pitied Lola, but I won't show this family any mercy again. Whatever fights they have in the future are none of my business anymore. Lola whined for mom to get up and cook. But with this being a critical period for the pregnancy, Dad didn't dare let Mom overexert herself. All Lola got was a scolding, which made her so mad she threw a stool. She kicked at my bedroom door, demanding I cook for her. I'm not your damn maid. Who do you think you are? Some spoiled princess. In the end, she had to reheat the meal herself, splattering oil all over her white outfit. What a waste of money. This new year turned out to be the most miserable one Lola had experienced in years. On the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, she started making a scene about leaving, and as she was going, her mother hit her up for money. You're spending money like water, hand it over to me, I'll save it for you and give it back whenever you need it. Lola refused. After just a few months, she'd grown accustomed to her lavish lifestyle. In her past life, she'd gotten married right after graduation. Marriage immediately plunged her into domestic drudgery. She never had the chance to spend freely. I can tell she's quite content with her current life. After all, she seems to be in a much better place now than in her previous life. Since she refused to hand it over, my mom couldn't force the issue and had to keep persuading her. Don't you want to come back to study later? I'm saving this money for your education. You can spend it however you want when the time comes. God knows what came over Lola. But she actually pulled out $2,000. As she left, she shot me another smug look. Enjoy it while you can. Next time she comes back, that smirk will be gone. That was when my so-called little brother came into this world. Later, my mom told me she was definitely carrying a son. From then on, she walked with a spring in her step. Even with her big belly, she kept bustling about, as if this could erase all the grievances she'd endured over the years. She warned me not to tell my sister about her pregnancy. I wasn't planning to say anything anyway, as the school term approached. Lola called home to have her family handle her enrollment arrangements. My mother readily agreed and casually asked her to transfer some extra money. My baby brother was born and placed in the air-conditioned room Lola had insisted on installing, sleeping soundly. Aren't you worried Lola might make a scene when she gets back? My father voiced his concern. My mother remained completely unfazed. What nonsense. This is her own baby brother. As a girl, she should know better than to be jealous of him. How ironic, the once treasured darling was now being dismissed as just a girl. At the end of August, Lola finally came home, dragging her overstuffed luggage behind her, but the moment she saw the baby in her dear mother's arms, she froze in shock. After rushing over to confirm the baby's gender, she completely broke down. Why didn't you tell me you had a baby boy? What's it to you? This is between me and your mother. Lola couldn't find a counter-argument. But she knew full well her privileged status was slipping away. Then she started screaming hysterically about going to school, demanding to attend mine, or she'd throw the baby brother to his death. My mother immediately slapped her across the face. They only reluctantly sent Lola to our school when they finally feared she might actually harm her younger brother. We were in the same grade, just different classes. I was in the accelerated class where studying was our daily routine. Lola caused quite a stir after enrolling. With her savings and stylish appearance, she instantly became the talk of the school after transferring. But in our elite class, nobody paid attention to such things. We were all preoccupied with competitions and securing early college admissions. By the second semester of 11th grade, nearly half our class had received early admission offers. Myself included. While everyone else was choosing Kyoto, I went straight for Guangzhou without hesitation, even though my scores far exceeded the admission requirements of its top university, because this is where I'd meet the love of my life. It's also where I could kickstart my money-making venture. The era of online shopping had arrived, though most ordinary folks hadn't yet realized it would explode in popularity. To avoid affecting Lola's study mindset, I discussed with our homeroom teacher about keeping my early admission news confidential at school. It's not that I'm afraid she'll perform poorly, I just worry she might hurt me again if she finds out about my guaranteed admission. After receiving the acceptance letter, I told my parents I didn't want to attend college anymore. They didn't even try to stop me. All their attention had shifted to my younger brother by then. They'd be thrilled if both Lola and I dropped out of school to work in factories. When Lola heard I was going to work, she got really anxious. Which factory are you going to? Whatever you do, don't go to the one I worked at. That boss loves docking workers' pay. Lola kept ranting about how terrible that factory was. I put on a grateful look and repeatedly assured her I wouldn't take that factory job before she finally let me leave with peace of mind. She even gritted her teeth and bought me a used phone with her last savings, insisting I contact her about anything, especially when it came to dating. 5. She promised to vet any potential boyfriends so I wouldn't get scammed. I agreed to everything without hesitation. That summer, I launched my very first online store. I handled everything single-handedly, sourcing from factories, product photography, and order fulfillment. Business was slow at first, so I took to street vending to get by. While brick-and-mortar still outperforms e-commerce these days, online shopping is gaining serious traction. The brick-and-mortar economy will only keep declining as time goes by. My store went viral during the first shopping festival after college reopened. That's when Lola called and asked me again if I knew Eli. I was swamped with work and had to hire several student part-timers to help with packaging. Just as I said I didn't know Eli, my friend called me over to hurry up with the packaging. Lola assumed I worked at a factory and asked about my job with faint concern. When she heard I was working 16-hour days and barely squeezing in sleep, she let out a long sigh of relief. After hanging up, I went back to packing and shipping orders. I made $1 million during this shopping festival. This is just my first million. Soon I'll be making my first 10 million, even 100 million. I hope when I meet Eli, I'll be accomplished enough to deserve someone like him. He's such a wonderful person, always so kind and gentle with me, but whenever I faced him, I was always consumed by inferiority. In my past life, I had no education and came from a poor family. Beyond my looks, I had nothing remarkable to offer, but beautiful people are a dime a dozen. He's the boss's son, an overseas returnee, while I'm just a factory girl. What could I possibly offer him? Ever since we got together, I've lived in constant fear of being dumped. At first his parents disapproved of our relationship, even subtly suggesting I should quit my job, but my diligence and down-to-earth attitude won them over. Despite their initial objections, they've grown reluctant to see me leave. I pushed myself relentlessly to improve, and it wasn't until I helped the factory secure a foreign trade order that they finally gave in. They said they saw their own hardworking younger selves in me, that I wasn't the type to coast on others' efforts, with me around. Their family fortunes wouldn't decline. My mother hounds me for money every month. If I'm even a day late, she bombards me with calls. I've considered blocking them, but if pushed too far, they might show up and discover my real situation, which would only cost me more in the long run. I can only spend $200 a month to buy some peace of mind. Even if I cut ties with them, I'm still legally obligated to support them. I'd rather spend a little money to keep the peace than deal with all this drama. I didn't go home for New Year's. Heard Lola's having a rough time every holiday. She has to go back and babysit her brother, and she's absolutely fed up with it. When the college entrance exam results came out, Lola shockingly scored less than 300 points, not even enough to get into vocational college. Naturally, her family refused to spend money on her education anymore. She told me she'd be coming to Canton to work too. When I asked which factory she'd be working at, she wouldn't say. I knew exactly which factory she'd go to give her a little scare. I circled the food street near the place several times. When I ran into Lola, she lied straight to my face, claiming she was just hanging out with friends. I didn't call her out on it. I made $5 million this year. As for Lola, she's still working at the factory. Rumor has it she spends her workdays looking around aimlessly, with terrible productivity. The boss tried to let her go several times, but she begged to stay by slashing her own pay and promising to improve. What puzzles me is she's been reborn too, so why is she still waiting around for Eli? She had every opportunity to make herself wealthy, yet she stubbornly waited around for some rich man to come along. Was she truly in love with Eli as a person? Was he really the only one for her? Several times I tried suggesting she start a small business, but she'd snap at me through gritted teeth, accusing me of wanting to keep her from a better life, telling me to mind my own business. The year I turned 19, Eli finally made his appearance. Lola called me again in excitement, her voice sounding almost manic over the phone, like she'd just won the lottery. I'm going to be rich. I'm finally going to be rich. She couldn't wait to announce her success to me, though I had no idea what she'd actually accomplished. From what I know, she's only bumped into Eli a few times and hasn't even spoken to him. Eli doesn't have the faintest clue who she is either. How do I know all this? Ever since my shop took off, I started dealing directly with factories. Eli's family happens to run one of my suppliers. We've had several private dinner dates already. He's trying to pursue me, says it was love at first sight. In this life, I've shed all the insecurities and avoidance from my past, making dating much more relaxed and harmonious. 6. During our lovely date, Lola kept bombarding me with calls until I reluctantly answered. She said she'd set me up with a great catch, a college graduate no less. Naturally, I didn't buy her sudden kindness. Just for kicks, I agreed to meet the guy. Turned out to be her husband from a past life. I really don't know how she managed to talk him into going on a blind date with a factory girl like me, after all. My brother-in-law is decent-looking and a college graduate, hardly someone who'd struggle to find a partner. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up with admiration. I could tell he was quite taken with me. Even in our first meeting in my past life, I noticed something off about the way he looked at me. His words alone proved exactly why he's perpetually single. "I heard you don't want a dowry and are willing to keep having children until you bear a son. I'm not legally old enough to register our marriage yet, but we could hold the wedding first. By the time you've delivered the baby, I'll be 22 and we can officially register. What do you think?" Listening to him enthusiastically lay out his grand plan, I found it utterly ridiculous. "I think it's a terrible idea." His face flushed with anger, clearly not expecting this outcome. "I know you, a sophomore at H University. Tell me, how did my sister convince you to come see me?" His face turned even redder, eyes darting away guiltily. "To be honest, I'm only here to satisfy my curiosity, but by now, I've pretty much figured it out." He stammered out the whole story. "Just as I suspected, Lola actually used her own body as leverage. She really went all out. After that, he never showed up around me again. I knew Lola had sent him to harass me, but he wasn't exactly the ambitious type. I just threatened him with my diploma, and he bolted like a scared rabbit. I don't know if he still keeps in touch with Lola. All I know is that Lola got fired. Eli's always swamped with work and rarely visits his parents' factory. He's got his own business to run. But Lola was persistent. She'd come sniffing around every time Eli showed up. Over 2 years, she drove Eli up the wall so much that he started avoiding the factory altogether. She was so frantic that she kept making mistakes at work. And the factory simply couldn't keep her on after being fired. She wouldn't go home or look for another job, just loitered around the factory all day, staring at passing vehicles. I felt deeply unsettled, remembering how she'd killed me out of jealousy in our past life. To completely eliminate this looming threat, one of us had to disappear, either me or her. Little did I know this opportunity would come so soon. My mother summoned both my sister and me home under the pretense of a serious illness. It had been years since I last saw them, and they'd aged noticeably. Their son was utterly disobedient, a real little tyrant. My mother's weary eyes lit up the moment she saw us return, but when I noticed several men sitting in our house, I immediately understood everything. My parents were planning to cash in. Lola and I were their savings accounts, just waiting to mature before being exchanged for a handsome bride price. Lola and I were considered the most attractive in the village, so naturally our bride prices would be substantial. My mother looked at me, her face creased with wrinkles. "I've lined up some potential matches for you. Take a look and decide quickly. You're not getting any younger." I immediately refused. "I have a boyfriend." Lola also gave the men in the room a disdainful glance. 7. Forget about looks. They all had potbellies, and some were even starting to go bald. "I have a boyfriend too," Lola quickly added. I gave Lola a surprised glance. Was she really giving up on Eli? How much dowry can their family offer? "If it's less than what we're giving, just break it off. Your brother's growing up and starting elementary school soon. That'll cost a fortune," I scoffed under my breath. "With compulsory education now, how much could elementary school possibly cost? What do you know? The competition is fierce these days. Your brother must attend an international school to have a bright future." I looked around our shabby house. How dare they even entertain such ideas in these conditions? "Eli and I aren't even asking for a dowry. We don't need that kind of money, and I don't want them profiting from this either," but I knew they wouldn't let this go without money. After some thought, I offered 30,000. My mom was utterly disgusted. She said our family could give 80,000 and told me to break up immediately. Seeing this, Lola lifted her chin defiantly. "My boyfriend promised me a 500,000 yuan betrothal gift when we get married." The moment these words were spoken, all the single men waiting for matchmaking in the room turned their heads in unison. Many gasped in astonishment. I was equally stunned. Who knew there were so many fools with money to burn in this world? In my past life, Eli was exactly that kind of fool. No matter how I protested, he insisted on giving my family 500,000 as bride price. He said, "This is pocket change to me. I don't want you fighting with your family over this. Anything money can solve is trivial." The moment Mom heard 500 grand, her face instantly lit up with this sickeningly sweet expression. God knows how she mastered that look. She pulled my sister close with exaggerated affection, bombarding her with questions. In her excitement, she demanded Lola summon the guy immediately for an on-the-spot wedding, but I noticed Lola's expression had turned oddly strained. Logically, since she knows my partner isn't as good as hers, she should be dying to bring them home to show off. But she keeps making excuses. Something just feels off about this, but now that she's found someone wealthy and willing to spend on her, my mind is finally at ease. She probably won't hurt me out of jealousy anymore, and her attention should shift away from both Eli and me. Just thinking about it made me feel considerably lighter. 8. Since Sis's bride price is 500k, Mom, you should just send these people away. Their intense stares made my skin crawl. Even if your sister got $500K in bride price. Your partner only offering $30K is downright insulting. Mom, drop this scheme. Sis got $500K and you want another $80K from me. The whole village will say you're selling your daughters, and it'll shame little brother too. Mentioning my brother finally shut her up. $500,000 is indeed a fortune, and now she just wants Lola to settle the marriage quickly. Without a word, I transferred $30,000 to my family, saying the wedding would be held out of town. My parents didn't want to spend on travel expenses and outright refused to attend my wedding. They couldn't even be bothered to get acquainted with a family that could only offer $30,000 in betrothal gifts. But soon enough, something started giving my father-in-law headaches. He said Lola kept showing up at his factory gate, making a scene and demanding to see Eli. Is your sister a few sandwiches short of a picnic? I told them to ignore her, and call the police if she gets out of hand. Before we even resolved the Lola situation, my parents unexpectedly showed up in Guangzhou, afraid they might spot me. I've been avoiding them all week. They teamed up with Lola to blockade the factory entrance, demanding the manager take responsibility. Our daughter's already with your son. You promised $500,000 in bride price, and now you're backing out. If you don't honor this deal, I'm reporting you to the police. My mother wailed at the top of her lungs, oblivious to the pointing and whispering around her. The comings and goings were all factory workers, many of whom knew Lola. People used to mock her for reaching beyond her grasp. Everyone knew exactly what Lola's situation was. She got fired after failing to seduce the factory director's son. Now she's gone completely nuts, even dragging her family into this mess. Someone who couldn't stand Lola sneered, "Listen, Auntie, our director's son studied abroad. What makes you think he'd settle for some factory girl like your daughter?" My mom shot the person a dirty look. "You're just jealous because my daughter is beautiful. He promised to marry our Lola. I have the text messages to prove it." My mother waved her phone frantically, trying to convince everyone around her and gain more supporters. Several people burst out laughing. The factory director's son got married ages ago. He even handed out wedding candies. His wife is a top university graduate, pretty and successful. Why would he ever look at Lola? You've been scammed, plain and simple. Lola turned deathly pale upon hearing this. She rushed over and grabbed the person by the sleeve, demanding answers. "Married? Impossible. How could he marry someone else? This can't be true." Amid the commotion, Eli emerged from the factory flanked by 2 security guards. "You're saying I should marry you?" Eli was strikingly handsome, exuding that unmistakable air of wealth. My mother's eyes practically lit up with dollar signs the moment she saw him. "Absolutely, son-in-law. We spoke on the phone before, remember? You even texted me promises to treat our Lola right." She moved closer to grab Eli's arm, but he frowned and took a step back. "Sorry, I don't know any of you. And I'm not close with her either." Eli pointed at Lola with clear disgust. "She harassed me several times at the factory and got fired for it. As for those texts you mentioned, why don't you call that number right now? I can guarantee it's not me on the other end," Eli explained calmly and methodically, eager to prove herself. My mom immediately made the call, and someone answered right away. By now, everyone understood exactly what was going on. Lola paid someone to stage this. But my mother still wouldn't give up. She kept glancing back at the factory, then at the passing crowd, determined not to let a wealthy man like Eli slip away. "But my daughter likes you. Look at her. She's beautiful. Just marry her. We'll only ask for $300,000 in dowry. No, $200,000. Eli could only laugh in exasperation. "9. Hey lady, I'm already married." My mother looked utterly defeated. She wanted money, but couldn't figure out how to get it now. Lola walked up to Eli in complete despair, her eyes brimming with tears of grievance. "Why did you marry someone else? You were supposed to marry me. How could you do this to me?" Eli shot me a helpless glance. Sitting in the car nearby, I couldn't help but chuckle. Lola believes that by taking my place at work and following the path I chose in my past life, she'll end up just like I did, a wealthy socialite married into money. Are you out of your mind? I wouldn't give you the time of day. Stop harassing me. Why, you were willing to marry her in your past life. Why won't you marry me in this lifetime, you liar? Lola reached out to strangle Eli, but security immediately pinned her to the ground. As the crowd of onlookers grew, my parents couldn't bear the embarrassment and dragged Lola away. Later I heard Lola got married to a wealthy family in the village, receiving $200,000 in bride price. After the whole $500K dowry incident, the family assumed Lola must be someone extraordinary. After marriage, the family treated Lola fairly well, but Lola constantly looked down on them, finding fault with everything. Over time, the groom's family grew thoroughly annoyed with her. Let's just drop it. Somehow Lola just lounges around all day playing cards and watching TV instead of working, and even had the nerve to demand a nanny after having a baby. Nobody in the village hires nannies, it's always the mother-in-law who takes care of the baby. She can't stand her mother-in-law and makes a scene every day. She made it clear that marrying into their family was for a life of luxury. If they couldn't provide that, she'd divorce and marry some tycoon instead. During every argument, my mom would dig out those texts where the tycoon offered $500K to marry Lola, yet the guy still got manipulated every single time. Eventually, word got out about Lola publicly pressuring Eli to marry her outside the factory. His family was livid. Turns out she was the only one invested in this relationship all along. When his family finally stopped indulging her, she refused to get divorced. But he'd already lost all patience with her. When Lola disobeyed, the family resorted to violence. Somehow Lola ended up with brain damage, and the guy's family had to compensate my parents with 100,000 yuan. By the time I returned to that place filled with painful memories, a whole decade had passed. My younger brother got locked up for assault. Only my parents remained at home. They look a decade older than their peers, their backs already hunched with age. If they were just elderly strangers I saw online, my heart would ache for them, but they're my parents, the same parents who've hurt me countless times, whose favoritism stretches across oceans. He brought this all upon himself. Their eyes burned with nothing but hatred when they saw me return. How dare you show your face here? Now your brother's locked up. Happy now. Back when my brother got into trouble, it took $1 million in settlement fees. I told them I had no money. So they demanded I work as an escort and sleep with every man in the victim's family. They said their son would only be released if I satisfied their family's anger. If your brother gets locked up, his life is over. Are you even human? You're useless with money. You refuse to sleep with them. What's the big deal? Just a few men. Is that really more important than your own brother? These are my parents. Sometimes I wonder if I'm really their biological child. How could anyone be so heartless? I only came back for one last look at you all. I won't be returning ever again. Eli and I have processed our immigration. We won't even need to pay their alimony anymore. They'll never find me. The only reason they still have energy to curse me is because they don't have to worry about putting food on the table each month. 10. Once I'm gone and they stop getting alimony, they won't have the luxury to dwell on such matters. With that, I walked away without looking back. Eli's car was parked at the village entrance, and I didn't want my parents to know about him. Seeing me approach, he quickly got out of the car. Honey, are you upset again? I shook my head and forced a smile. No, I just feel like I can't understand their thinking. What exactly do you think my parents truly want? Is their lifelong ambition really just to boast to the villagers about having a son? I just don't get it. Let's go. Just as we were about to get in the car, a disheveled woman suddenly emerged from the bushes nearby. She asked hysterically, "How could you be together?" Duh, she's my wife. Of course I'm with her. Eli wrapped an arm around me while taking a disgusted step backward. How could this be? You said you looked down on me for being a factory girl, but she's clearly one too. Why are you with her instead of me? Her eyes were bloodshot from agitation, her hands trembling uncontrollably. I quickly took several steps backward. She's Lola. Eli's face twisted like he'd just bitten into something disgusting. Why does your sister keep thinking I should be with her? What's her problem? Eli was clearly distressed, but I couldn't tell him about our past life together. Some factory girl. Forget that I don't even like you. Your sister graduated from a top university. Makes millions a year, and you think I'd choose someone like you with zero accomplishments? You're delusional. Upon hearing this, Lola grabbed her head and let out a desperate scream. No way, that's impossible. She dropped out in her second year of high school to work. We're the same. You're lying to me. She tried to lunge at me, but a man intervened and dragged her back home. Sitting in the car, I was still shaken to the core. Just now, I saw that same murderous look in Lola's eyes again, the one from our past life. At least she won't be part of my future anymore, and thank God I still have him. Story 2. In my past life, my elder sister was chosen as the crown princess for her alluring beauty and intoxicating feminine scent. The beastly emperor simultaneously betrothed me to the crown prince as his concubine, consumed by jealousy. My sister drugged me with a love potion that very night and delivered me to the bedchamber of the serpent prince, born of a palace maid. In the end, after enduring 30 lashes, I was forced to marry the serpent prince. Yet after marriage, my elder sister bore only common serpents with the crown prince, while I gave birth to a celestial dragon for the azure serpent. Upon the dragon's birth, the emperor deposed the crown prince and decreed the throne would pass to my offspring when he came of age. Consumed by envy, my sister stole into my chambers, ripping the divine sinews from my young dragon's spine and scaling him alive. My precious dragon perished in agony, after which she strangled me to death with his own golden tendons. When my eyes opened again, I found myself back on the day the Beast Emperor arranged our marriages. She was determined to wed the green serpent. I knew then, she had been reborn just like me. But this time, she couldn't even bear leeches. The Beast Emperor betrothed my elder sister Thorn to the Crown Prince as his consort, while I was bestowed upon him as a concubine. His intention was for me to enter the palace and serve my elder sister and the Crown Prince dutifully. Little did he know, my sister's face twisted with resentment at his words, and our parents' expressions darkened. That evening, my personal maid brought me a cup of tea, claiming it would soothe my restless mind after days of distraction. Mere moments after drinking the tea, my limbs grew weak and my body burned with fever. My mother secretly summoned a sedan chair, instructing the bearers to deliver me to Prince Green Serpent's residence. Dove, don't resent your mother. How could you ever be worthy of sharing a husband with your elder sister? I hear that Green-Eyed Serpent is quite handsome, if you please him tonight. Becoming his principal wife would surely surpass being the Crown Prince's concubine. The green-eyed serpent mother spoke of was Night, born of a palace maid, low-born and disfavored by the emperor. Though fair of face, he was withdrawn by nature and frequently bedridden with illness. The next day, mother deliberately had servants spread word of my illicit union with Night. The emperor flew into a rage and ordered me publicly flogged 30 times, beaten within an inch of my life. I was dragged into the royal manor like a dead dog. A month later, Night and I hastily held our wedding ceremony. That same day, Thorn had her grand wedding, becoming the envied crown princess. Out of deference to my father's position as chancellor, Night made me his official consort, yet he deemed me shameless and never showed me the slightest affection. The capital's nobility would sneer at the mere mention of my name. My reputation was in tatters. By divine mercy, I conceived that very night. Months later, I gave birth to a dragon python, the sacred emblem of our kind. The dragon python is the most exalted being among the beast python clan. The last one was born 3 centuries ago. The python emperor was overjoyed and immediately bestowed upon the dragon python the title of imperial crown prince. As the mother, I received countless honors by virtue of my child's status. My elder sister gave birth 2 months after me. On her delivery day, she specifically sent the crown prince to inform the emperor, boasting she would bear a child more noble than even the imperial dragon serpent. Yet after laboring for a full day and night, she only delivered a frail little serpent. As Longbao grew, the serpent emperor's fondness for him deepened. Meanwhile, the crown prince grew increasingly frail like the knights of old, confined to his sickbed. The emperor deposed him to focus on recovery, decreeing the throne would pass directly to imperial grandson Longbao upon his abdication. Enraged, elder sister Thorn persistently pursued mating with the crown prince, hoping to bear a dragon serpent heir, yet she only birthed increasingly sickly serpent offspring. When the dragon serpent turned 6 and began secluded cultivation, Thorn ambushed him at his training grounds. As he meditated to absorb spiritual energy, she bound him with divine whips, extracted his dragon tendons, and methodically plucked every scale from his body. The dragon child perished in agony. While I remained unaware, she visited under pretense of goodwill, then strangled me to death with the dragon child's own tendons when my guard was down. When my eyes opened again, my elder sister knelt beside me, her forehead striking the ground with a heavy thud. Your Majesty, I beg you to revoke this decree. I cannot marry the crown prince. My heart belongs solely to the third prince, Night. I implore your mercy. The resolute look on Thorn's face told me she too had been reborn. My father, who had been seated in the lower position, rose in alarm and knelt beside my eldest sister. Trembling, he pressed his forehead to the ground. Your Majesty, please forgive Thorn's insolence. The fault lies with my failure in discipline. As he spoke, he tugged at my sister's sleeve, urging her to beg for mercy, yet my sister defiantly raised her head, her gaze resolute and demeanor unwavering, as if prepared to meet her fate. My gaze shifted to the other protagonist of the day, Prince Ezekiel of the Beast Fang clan. Ezekiel's radiant eyes dimmed instantly upon hearing his elder sister reject the arranged marriage, his face clearly showing wounded disappointment. Watching Thorn kneeling with eyes averted, he sighed deeply before descending from his princely dais to kneel as well. Your Majesty, my heart belongs to Dove, the second daughter of Chancellor Damien. I humbly beg for your royal blessing of this union. The entire hall erupted in gasps of astonishment. In the Beastwild continent, males outnumber females, and females are typically given preferential treatment, but exceptions like me don't qualify for such privileges. With my scrawny frame, shriveled appearance, and barely detectable feminine aura, anyone could tell I'd never bear robust beastlings. My elder sister, born merely 10 minutes before me, was my complete opposite, with bewitching features, voluptuous curves, and an intoxicating feminine allure radiating from her entire being. Whenever she stepped out, that scent would send hordes of males fawning and frolicking around her. The emperor's fury still raged. This is an imperial decree of marriage. How dare you question it? Yet he refrained from openly humiliating the crown prince, declaring sternly, "We bestow Dove upon you as a consort. Speak no further of this." It served as a face-saving compromise for the heir apparent. The crown prince had no choice but to kowtow in gratitude before returning to his seat. Just like in my past life, I remained the crown prince's concubine. The emperor's gaze then shifted to my kneeling father, Chancellor Damien. "If you cannot properly discipline your eldest daughter Thorn, perhaps we should entrust her to the empress. Let her palace staff teach the girl some manners." My father knew all too well the brutal methods of the palace eunuchs and matrons, trembling like a leaf. He kowtowed repeatedly and begged for mercy. "Spare me, your majesty. I swear to discipline them severely upon my return." Inside the prime minister's residence, "Dove, drink this sedative and get some rest early," mother ordered as a servant presented me with a bowl of murky medicinal broth, identical to the aphrodisiac from my past life. It emitted that same nauseatingly cloying sweetness. I was just about to take it when Thorn knocked it out of my hand. "You're not drinking this. Get out." Thorn snapped at me harshly. I stood my ground. "Mother, I don't care. I'm marrying the prince." Thorn sobbed petulantly. "She's been making a scene for nearly 2 hours now, marrying that lowly prince instead of the crown prince. You'd be giving others an undeserved advantage." My mother shot me a meaningful glance as she spoke, as the legitimate daughter of the prime minister's household. "Your noble status naturally demands a match with someone equally distinguished, His Highness the Crown Prince. Moreover, this is an imperial decree, there's no room for discussion." The mother spoke with gentle persuasion, yet showed no sign of relenting. Seeing her mother's firm stance, Thorn rolled her eyes twice before swallowing her sobs. When the mother saw she'd stopped crying, thinking she'd finally come around, she cooed endearments before leaving Thorn's courtyard. Half an hour later, rustling sounds came from Thorn's courtyard, and I crept closer to eavesdrop. "Are the palanquin bearers ready? I've just taken the aphrodisiac tonic and must hurry to the prince's manor. Spread the word tonight. Sleep in my bed so mother won't notice." "Understood," Thorn whispered to her chambermaid. "So she intends to tread the path I walked in my past life, though I wonder if 30 lashes will appease the emperor's wrath this time." Last life. I was merely gifted as the crown prince's concubine on a whim, but Thorn is his personally appointed crown princess, too. The next day, Thorn and Knight knelt side by side in the grand hall. Behind them at an angle knelt their ashen-faced father and mother. The hall was filled with a sweet fragrance emanating from Thorn, her scent grown more potent after her first intimate experience. Knight gazed at her with unmistakable infatuation, while even the chamberlain standing nearby squinted in quiet pleasure. "Your Majesty, I truly cherish the prince with all my heart. I beg for your gracious permission and am willing to accept any punishment." Thorn spoke softly yet resolutely. Knight also kowtowed. "Father, the fault lies entirely with me. It was my infatuation with Lady Damien that led to this transgression. I submit myself to your judgment. But as Thorn and I have already consummated our union, and with rumors circulating in the capital, I implore you to consider the imperial dignity and grant us your blessing." He was indeed clever, invoking the emperor's most prized concern, the royal family's reputation. The crown prince, destined to inherit the throne, could never marry a woman who had already been intimate with another man. The emperor's eyes bulged with rage, his entire body trembling. "Very well. Since you treat our decree as child's play, today we shall grant your wish." Turning to the eunuch attending him, he commanded, "Draft an edict. We hereby strip Knight of his princely title, demoting him to a common Naga. His royal status shall never be restored. As for Thorn, who's so willing to marry him, let her be bestowed as his wife." Mother fainted dead away upon hearing this, while father nearly collapsed to his knees. Thorn paled momentarily, but after brief contemplation, she bit her lip and kowtowed. "This humble subject thanks your Majesty's magnanimity. My devotion lies with Knight the man, not the prince." As long as she could bear the divine dragon serpent, what did it matter if the prince regained his title? She'd surely enjoy endless wealth and luxury. Besides, if her child ascended the throne, would the prince's position even matter? Knight listened with moist eyes, his infatuation visibly deepening. The emperor studied Thorn's words and the kneeling pair before him. Sensing genuine affection, he released an almost imperceptible sigh, his stern expression softening slightly. "In that case, you may continue residing in the former princely estate, but henceforth, Knight shall hold no noble title nor receive imperial stipends. Govern yourselves accordingly." The emperor showed Thorn clemency after all. Truly, beauty and sweet feminine allure command favor wherever they go. Should Thorn ever bear a draconic heir, the emperor would surely restore his favor to both Knight and her. Alas, her scheming proved futile. In this lifetime, she couldn't conceive even a leech, let alone a serpent. My elder sister and I were to be wed on the same day. Fearing her suffering in the royal household, our parents prepared a lavish dowry for her, yet mine remained as modest as in my past life, merely 3 or 5 chests. In my previous life, mother had said, you sullied yourself with that prince before marriage. These paltry dowry chests are only given out of deference to the imperial family. In this life, mother said, now that you're marrying the crown prince as a concubine with no worries about food or clothing, why should we prepare a dowry? These few chests are just for show. As Thorn insisted on marrying the lowborn knight, her parents' faces darkened with gloom, yet they couldn't bring themselves to scold her. Thorn was their pride and the apple of their eye. Had she married the dragon serpent crown prince, she would have become the future queen of the Mang tribe, yet now she could only marry a disgraced prince. There'll be no future prospects left, might as well live worse than a head palace maid. My elder sister noticed mother's lingering melancholy and drew her aside, whispering in her ear. Mother glanced at me and said, are you certain, should that wretched girl become queen someday? Don't come crying with regrets, with a coquettish pout. My sister replied, don't fret, mother, the imperial heir might already quicken in my womb, everything proceeds according to my design. On the wedding night, drums thundered and gongs clamored. As I knelt before our parents before leaving, my elder sister whispered in my ear, Dove, don't think marrying that barbarian crown prince gives you an advantage, though I'm but a commoner's wife now. The future Empress Dowager's throne shall be mine alone. I smiled without reply. Kowtowed once to our seated parents, then turned away. From that moment onward, nothing of the Damien family concerned me anymore. Thorn staked her entire fortune and status to marry Knight, believing the dragon's bloodline flowed through his veins, but she had no idea. The reason I could birth dragon pythons was because I carried a beast core within me. My gaunt, withered appearance all these years came from sustaining this core with my own vitality. When pregnant, the core would merge with the placenta on its own, demanding twice the nourishment to sustain it, but after childbirth, my body would return to normal. Thorn also possesses an inner elixir, but her elixir works in the opposite way of mine. It absorbs all vital essence to nourish her, enhancing her beauty and emitting a captivating fragrance. In her past life, the reason she couldn't even bear a python and only gave birth to sickly serpent offspring was because the elixir drained all her nutrients. These 2 elixirs were obtained by our mother through desperate pleas to the Python tribe's shaman. She only heard that one inner elixir required bodily nourishment, which would suppress beauty and feminine scent, while the other could enhance beauty and emit an alluring feminine fragrance. Without hesitation, her mother made the allocation. 3. Her mind was wholly consumed with plotting how Thorn could use the inner elixir to climb the social ladder step by step, so much so that she didn't register a single word of the witch's subsequent explanations. The once robust crown prince of the previous life became bedridden with chronic illness after marrying Thorn. For someone as frail as Knight, he'd likely exhaust his vital essence within 2 years. Dozens of luminous pearls illuminated the bridal chamber as bright as daylight. Having lost track of time, I sat alone on the edge of the bed in a daze, feeling like night had fallen ages ago. With a creak, the door swung open, revealing a silhouette before me. Dove, came the voice, clear and tender. The bridal veil was lifted, and I looked up to see the strikingly handsome Crown Prince Ezekiel. His expression remained impassive, devoid of any joy at taking a new bride. I suppose he still carries a torch for my elder sister, after all. He only chose me out of reluctant compromise to protect his true love. You must be starving after this long wait. I'll have the palace kitchen prepare you a proper meal, he asked with an impassive face, but before I could answer, he directly instructed the attending maid to prepare some easily digestible food. After the maid left, he rose to his feet. I quickly stood up as well, cautiously bending at the waist to stand attentively by his side, ready to serve him. To my surprise, he led me to the dressing table and pressed my shoulders down onto the round stool. He began removing the heavy phoenix crown and hairpins from my head. Your Highness, the maids can attend to this later. We mustn't trouble you with such menial tasks. I immediately made to rise from my seat. His grip tightened as he pressed me back onto the stool, his voice still devoid of emotion. It's no trouble. Tonight you become my wife. I choose to remove your bridal ornaments myself, for some reason. I felt my cheeks grow warm without realizing it. I remembered our wedding night in the past life. Knight had merely looked at me with undisguised disgust, refusing to exchange even a word. He didn't even share the ceremonial wine with me before storming out. Even with Ezekiel's reserved demeanor now, it didn't feel nearly as unbearable. The nanny brought 2 bowls of fine noodles, one for Ezekiel and me each, explaining they symbolized enduring happiness and lasting prosperity. I thought Ezekiel would leave after finishing the noodles, that his visit was just a formality for our wedding night, but instead, he ordered the servants to prepare his bath, then casually climbed onto the marital bed. Flustered, I dragged my feet through my own bedtime routine, reluctant to join him. Finally losing patience, he dismissed the attendants with a wave, rolled off the bed, and unceremoniously scooped me up before tossing me onto the sheets. He's like a completely different man from that indifferent-looking guy moments ago. The smoldering desire in his eyes feels like it could set me ablaze. Such a stark contrast. He chuckled lowly. Who knew my dove could be so shy? Don't worry. I'll teach you slowly. You'll love every moment of it. He pinned me down beneath him. The crimson canopy billowed all night long. Ezekiel's been insatiable these past 2 days, leaving me sore and exhausted every night, falling asleep only at dawn. I don't rise till the sun is high in the sky. Fortunately, I'm the only concubine in the crown prince's palace with no principal wife yet, so I'm spared from morning courtesies, otherwise I'd probably die without knowing why. The maids couldn't suppress their giggles behind their sleeves while dressing me. Burning with embarrassment, I pretended not to understand their teasing expressions. That day, while reading an illustrated book by the window, I overheard 2 young maids chatting as they dusted the ornaments. For, they say the royal consort's already been diagnosed with pregnancy, just married a few days ago and already with child. TSK, hush, he's no longer your highness, just Yen Master now. Their scandal spread throughout the beastfolk clans. A pregnancy's hardly surprising after that, so Thorn had also conceived during that incident, but that's none of my concern. Just as I was engrossed in the illustrated novel's plot, my maid announced the arrival of Thorn, daughter of Chancellor Damien. After some consideration, I instructed the servants to usher her in. She was clever enough to invoke the Damien family name. Had she come merely as Knight's wife, the servants wouldn't have even bothered to announce her. This was less a courtesy visit and more a blatant display of vanity. She fluttered her handkerchief and arrogantly took the host's seat upon entering the hall, just as the maids were about to reprimand her. I waved them away and seated myself in the subordinate position below Thorn. The corner of her lips curled into a contemptuous smirk. Having witnessed my cautious deference in Damien's household, she now dismissed my elevated status as the crown prince's concubine with utter disdain. Dear sister, she deliberately stroked her still flat abdomen. I'm with child. You and his highness should hurry along. I smiled. How thoughtful of you. Elder sister, the crown prince's vigor requires no concern. Perhaps you should focus on fortifying Sir Knight with tonics, lest he prove inadequate for your needs. Her expression darkened as she sneered. Truly the words of someone unfit for polite company. How utterly vulgar, crude words, but not untrue. Surely even you must see how Knight pales in comparison to the crown prince, be it lineage, looks, or even brute strength. His highness surpasses him in every regard. Struck where it hurt, she flushed crimson with rage. Having been intimate with Knight and a former crown princess herself, how could she not have made comparisons? Furious, she reached out to strike me, but I caught her wrist and flung her aside. How dare she cause trouble in my domain? I wasn't about to indulge her tantrums. She suddenly let out a cold laugh. What good is nobility now? The real test is who can birth the imperial heir. Her eyes raked over my slender frame as she sneered. Pray your womb doesn't produce a mere eel, sister. Should you disgrace the royal house, the crown prince might order your execution. Then we'll see if you can keep this arrogance of yours. Rather than strutting about my chambers, you'd do better tending that pregnancy. Frankly, I doubt the thing in your belly will ever see daylight. Thorn flew into a rage, lunging at me with fists raised. I sidestepped his attack without batting an eye. Guards, escort our guest out. This princess requires rest. I turned on my heel and strode toward the bedchamber. The maid waiting at the door immediately scurried in at the command, grabbing Thorn and half-dragging her out. I wiped the spot where I'd touched her hand with my handkerchief and let out a cold laugh. Let her revel in her arrogance a while longer. I want to watch her descend into despair with my own eyes. A month later, I was diagnosed with pregnancy. The crown prince was overjoyed, ever since conception. I've felt this child in my womb as my little dragon. Perhaps that's the mystical bond between mother and child. Pregnancy demands twice the energy to nourish my core, leaving my body increasingly frail. For reasons unknown, this incarnation's pregnancy brings greater suffering and sharper hunger pangs than the last. The first 2 months were manageable, but as the baby grew inside me, demanding more nutrients each day, I could barely walk normally and even breathing became laborious. Ezekiel was so agitated he couldn't sleep at night. Since my pregnancy made me unfit to share his bed, the Empress intended to assign him 2 concubines, but he declined them all. The Empress flew into a rage, convinced I'd bewitched him into refusing concubines. As the Queen was about to reprimand me, Ezekiel knelt down and pleaded, "Mother, please don't be angry. It's not that I refuse to take concubines, but I have certain unspeakable difficulties. My campaign in the Northwest left me physically impaired. Dove's pregnancy was nothing short of divine mercy. I'm consulting renowned physicians now. Taking concubines can wait until I've recovered. Ezekiel spoke in veiled terms, but the gist was clear. He was impotent. The queen instantly understood, her face alternating between pallor and flush. The crown prince's secret ailment must remain undisclosed. Too many knowing would jeopardize his succession. If word gets out about his inability to produce an heir, wouldn't that be tantamount to an imperial decree of deposition? 5. From then on, the empress voluntarily fell silent. Any concubine who dared mention sending new consorts to the crown prince's household would first face her thunderous wrath. As time passed, no one dared bring it up again, and peace was finally restored. As my pregnancy grew increasingly difficult, Ezekiel grew too concerned to leave me. He eventually pleaded illness to the emperor and took official leave. The queen thought the crown prince was using this opportunity to treat his own ailment, and even considerately covered for him. Freed from political duties, Ezekiel stayed by my side every single day. He personally fed me meals, attended to my bedtime, and grew increasingly anxious watching me lose weight daily. As if he wished he could bear the pregnancy himself, the palace matrons would whisper to me when Ezekiel wasn't around, marveling they'd never seen a husband dote on his wife so devotedly. Indeed, he is my beloved husband, and my heart swells with sweetness and joy. Perhaps this is what it means to have chosen the right person. I heard that ever since my elder sister became pregnant, our parents would frequently visit her, bringing either precious nourishing tonics or all sorts of amusing trinkets to lift her spirits. Yet they've never once come to see me. The servants whispered that Thorn had become radiant with pregnancy, her feminine allure so potent it could be sensed beyond the manor walls. Perhaps her inner elixir was feeding on the fetus's vitality to sustain her. Meanwhile, I'd become gaunt to the point of deformity, sunken cheeks protruding over a skeletal frame, my grotesquely swollen belly a monstrous contrast. In my previous life, Night never once visited my courtyard after I conceived, despite his frail health. He kept several stunning concubines and spent his days frolicking with them, a classic case of all talk and no action. Once, he caught sight of my pregnant form and froze in shock, stammering, "How could you become so repulsive?" From then on, he avoided me like the plague. In our past life, the only time we ever shared intimacy was that night when my mother drugged me with aphrodisiac wine. But my current state is even worse than in my past life, undoubtedly more hideous and terrifying. I hid from Ezekiel, fearing his rejection, yet he saw right through me and pulled me into his embrace. "Dove, don't fret, the child in your womb is mine as well. How could I ever reject you for carrying my own?" His eyes burned with tender devotion and deep affection. Indeed, he was never like Night to begin with. I shouldn't have been so petty. Before I knew it, the day of my eldest sister's delivery arrived. I couldn't help but wonder what she would bring into this world this time. So I sent a quick-witted maid to gather news, instructing her to report back immediately. 6. Ezekiel chuckled, "You're about to give birth yourself, yet you still have the energy to poke into others' affairs," I retorted, "only because your elder sister is the one you fancy. I was just gathering intel for you." Ezekiel flushed with discomfort. "Don't talk nonsense, you're the only one I love, she's my sister-in-law. This isn't a joking matter." Who knew even the crown prince could blush from embarrassment? Amused, I couldn't resist teasing him further when suddenly the baby inside me kicked, making my belly ripple like waves. "Quick, feel this, he's moving." I eagerly grabbed Ezekiel's hand and placed it on my belly, watching his expression shift from astonishment to pure joy. "You've no idea how much your mother's suffered carrying you." Ezekiel pretended to scold my belly. "If you misbehave after you're born, I'll spank you good." The baby in my womb seemed to hear us, kicking even more vigorously. Counting the days, I'll be holding him in my arms in just 1 month. Soon I'll be reunited with my little dragon. Just as Ezekiel and I were marveling at the baby's movements, the maid I'd sent out came rushing back, completely out of breath. She's given birth." The little maid was gasping for breath. So I quickly had another servant girl pour her a cup of water. She gulped it down in one go, then panted twice before speaking. "The whole court's buzzing about it. Chancellor Damien's daughter birthed some pitch-black monstrosity, not quite a snake nor an eel, covered in scales, but its head, just a fleshy lump with no eyes or mouth, utterly horrifying." After letting out a few cries, the creature drew its last breath. I heard the prince, no, pardon me, I heard Sir Knight ordered his servants to burn it. Thick, foul-smelling black smoke rose from the pyre, so putrid it made people retch. The young mistress was overjoyed at first upon hearing her newborn had scales, but when she learned of the child's death, she collapsed on the spot. A chill ran down my spine upon hearing this. From what the maid described, Thorn's offspring seemed more like the result of a dark curse. I'd expected her to deliver a stillborn at worst, never imagined she'd birth an actual monstrosity. Thinking I was frightened, Ezekiel scolded the maid. "Must you go into such gruesome details? Simply say she bore a monster. Should the princess consort suffer any distress from your tale, you'll answer to me." I quickly stopped him from making baseless accusations. "Your Highness," her words didn't unsettle me. "I merely grieve for my elder sister's fate. This won't affect the child I carry. Leave us now. I wish to speak with His Highness privately." With that, I dismissed the teary-eyed maid. After the maids withdrew, I composed myself and said gravely to Ezekiel, "Don't you find Thorn's offspring extraordinarily abnormal?" Ezekiel shook his head. "In our beastkin continent, births have always been diverse. Women deliver pythons, serpents, even eels. It's simply a matter of individual destiny. But this isn't just a monster. It has scales and emits a nauseating stench when burned. I once read an ancient text at Damien's place about a ratfolk witchcraft that grants men exceptional virility. The price is flesh and blood, if unwilling to pay themselves. They may substitute their own offspring." Ezekiel frowned. "You mean Knight? He sacrificed his own bloodline just for bedroom prowess?" I nodded. "I can't leave the palace gates. If you see him, observe his complexion closely. If he appears unusually radiant, he must have struck some shady deal with the Rat clan. Truth be told, if I were a man, I'd probably understand Knight's dilemma to some extent." Thorn's striking beauty and insatiable desires exuded such primal femininity that Knight burned with constant lust for her, yet Knight's frail constitution left him unable to perform. Desperate to keep his beloved, he resorted to sacrificing his own offspring in exchange for physical prowess. He probably thought their sibling bond made this pregnancy insignificant. Losing one child just meant they could try for another. Little did he know Thorn married him solely to breed dragon pythons. With no real affection involved, the sole benefit was letting his eldest sister's inner core absorb more of his vital essence for nourishment. A month has flown by in the blink of an eye. Lately my belly keeps tightening up. It feels like the baby could come any moment now. I can't even bring myself to care about Thorn's affairs anymore. Nothing matters more than my little dragon. Ezekiel had the midwife and royal physician on standby early, and he himself wouldn't dare leave my side for a second. That day, I was struck by excruciating abdominal pain. My past life experience told me labor had begun. The entire Crown Prince's palace descended into organized chaos. I writhed in agony on the bed, too exhausted to even cry out. The royal physician inserted countless acupuncture needles and forced ginseng tea down my throat before I regained a sliver of strength. The labor pains lasted from dawn till midnight when the midwife finally said the baby was crowning and urged me to push harder. The royal physician inserted more acupuncture needles at my higa point to ease the pain and restore my strength. Ezekiel was pacing frantically, his anxiety so overwhelming that he lost his human form and transformed into a serpent flying agitatedly through the air. At the break of dawn, I finally gave birth to my precious serpent child. Oh no, in this life he's not even a dragon serpent, but an actual divine dragon. The midwife stood frozen for a long moment before finally wrapping the golden dragon infant in swaddling clothes. Trembling, she announced to the crown prince, "Your Highness, the mistress has birthed what appears to be a dragon. Forgive this old servant's ignorance, but would your Highness please come see for yourself?" Without awaiting the prince's orders, servants were already sprinting toward the emperor's palace to deliver the astonishing news. Ezekiel cradled the radiant golden dragon infant, utterly dumbfounded. Standing by my bedside with trembling voice, he whispered, "Dove, is this truly our child? Our serpent clan only ever produces dragon serpents at most. How could we possibly have birthed a divine dragon?" The royal astrologer just examined him and confirmed every feature matches the ancient records. This is undoubtedly a celestial dragon. I reached up my hand. Ezekiel carefully placed Lombao into my arms. Looking into Lombao's clear eyes and those achingly familiar features, I knew this was my Lombao from the past life. My tears fell onto his little face. The little dragon wriggled in my arms, probably trying to comfort me. Though he couldn't speak yet, a sudden commotion erupted outside, followed by the eunuch's announcement, "His Majesty approaches." Ezekiel hurried from the inner chamber to the main hall to receive the emperor. I clung tightly to the baby dragon, refusing to let go. "Mother," little dragon suddenly piped up in his childish voice, startling me. "My child, in our past life I failed you, letting them flay you alive." My voice choked with sobs, transforming into a child. Little dragon embraced me. "Mother." That was a trial I needed to endure to ascend from serpent dragon to divine dragon. "And I must thank you. Without your bodily nourishment, I could never have achieved draconic ascension." So that's how it was. Yet he endured the agony of having his tendons pulled and scales scraped. Just the thought of it still makes my chest ache so fiercely I can barely breathe. When the emperor ordered the eunuch to bring the dragon treasure for his inspection, the little dragon reverted to its newborn form, obediently closing its eyes as if in deep slumber. The emperor's hearty laughter echoed from the outer chamber. He exclaimed repeatedly, "Splendid, magnificent, divine, this is heaven-sent fortune for our beast-wild continent. Eunuch who, issue an imperial decree immediately. This sacred dragon shall be named Auspice, granted the title of imperial crown grandson, and bestowed with golden treasures and scrolls on the 8th day of next month." After a pause, he continued, "Dove shall be named crown princess consort. The investiture ceremony will also be held on the 8th of next month, a double celebration." The crown prince was the first to respond. "Your son humbly thanks your majesty's grace on Dove's behalf. She remains frail after childbirth, but once recovered, I shall bring her to kneel in gratitude before you." Returning to the inner chambers, the crown prince couldn't conceal his joy. "Dove, you heard it. His majesty has decreed you shall be my princess consort." I nodded with a smile. "Indeed. I've also heard His Majesty intends to name Longbow as crown prince. Doesn't that make you uneasy?" "What unease?" "The possibility that His Majesty might bypass tradition and name Longbow as his direct successor. In the previous life, the emperor deposed the crown prince and directly decreed Longbow's ascension to the throne. Though we can't foresee how this life will unfold, I'd hate to see father and son turn against each other over the throne." Ezekiel burst into laughter. "Nothing would please me more. Once the kingdom's in that boy's hands, we'll roam free. I hear Foxkin country has breathtaking landscapes, Snow Leopard Kingdom boasts extraordinary wonders, and wolf territories offer endless delicacies." Pulling me into his embrace, he murmured, "It's not that I crave power, none of my brothers are fit to rule, that's why I contended for the crown. If our furry inherits the throne, nothing could make me happier. After all, he's our child." He kissed my forehead and cooed, "Get well soon, darling. We'll have our second and third little treasures." I've deployed the crown prince's most elite shadow guard to protect Longbow, ensuring he's watched every moment from the shadows. Though Thorn can't enter the palace now, I'm still taking precautions just in case. Ezekiel told me when the palace eunuch brought the happy news to Damien's household. His parents merely accepted the decree with indifference, not even bothering to tip the messenger. Upon returning to the palace, the eunuch naturally reported every detail of the father and mother's reactions to the emperor. The imperial heir was the emperor's most treasured golden grandson. He practically wanted to proclaim it to the heavens so all would know of the divine dragon's descent upon the royal house, yet the Damien family, as maternal relatives, responded with surprising indifference. This planted seeds of displeasure in the emperor's heart. Within 2 months, the emperor found a pretext to strip the father of his chancellor position without reassignment, merely stating they'd reconsider when a suitable post became available. Thorn nearly lost his mind when he learned I'd given birth to a divine dragon in this lifetime. She wrecked everything in the manor before relentlessly pursuing Night for constant mating. Night's robust physique, originally obtained through dark magic, quickly deteriorated under the elder sister's ceaseless demands day and night. 7. But this time he couldn't even seek the Rat clan's help. He was bedridden with illness. Fortunately, Thorn was pregnant again. She was extremely attentive to this pregnancy, hiring an outside veterinarian twice daily to monitor the fetus's development through pulse diagnosis. As her belly grew day by day, Night's condition steadily deteriorated until he could no longer swallow even broth. His breathing becoming increasingly labored. Had Thorn devoted some attention to Night then and supplemented his treatment with proper medication, he might have lived several more years, albeit in weakened health. Yet Thorn turned a blind eye to his suffering, leaving him to waste away without even sending a servant to tend to him. Night had long been stripped of his noble status. The palace attendants assigned to him were dismissed, his royal stipends revoked, leaving the vast estate sustained solely by Thorn's dowry. Now abandoned by Thorn, he lay waiting for death in the hollow emptiness of the great house. On the day his eldest sister went into labor, Night drew his last breath. This labor proved far more agonizing than her last, yet after 3 days and nights of struggle, she delivered only a writhing mass of tiny white maggots. The servants fled in terror at the sight. The eldest sister took one look at the squirming creatures crawling across her legs and belly, then collapsed in a dead faint. When she awoke again, word reached her that the Knight had perished. She muttered to herself, why can't I bear a dragon serpent even after wedding the azure serpent? Could that wretched woman be the one destined to breed such creatures?" She suddenly struggled to sit up. No, impossible. How could that low-born wench possibly bear a dragon serpent? It must be coincidence. I must find the crown prince. I will marry the crown prince. The servants whispered she'd gone mad, a widow daring to covet marriage with the crown prince. Yet when the palace matron reported the intelligence she'd bribed from servants, my guard went up immediately. Thorn is pure madness incarnate. Last life, she lurked near Lombow's seclusion to murder him. Who knows what atrocities she'll commit this time? I instructed the crown prince to reinforce patrols within the estate, paying particular attention to goods purchased outside the palace or personnel delivering items from beyond the palace walls. Sure enough, Just days after Longbao received the golden treasure and imperial edict, a group of embroideresses delivering needlework to the palace caught my attention. Her disguise was actually quite convincing, but I recognized her scent all too well. Among the plainly dressed embroideresses, Thorn kept her head down with her hair in a matronly bun, her face darkened and wrinkled, a remarkably realistic transformation. I quietly ordered the shadow guards to monitor Thorn's movements, with instructions to apprehend her immediately should she dare to separate from the embroideress group. Sure enough, within moments the shadow guards apprehended the sneaking Thorn at Dragon's abode where Longbao resided. The guards pinned her mercilessly to the ground, seated on a chair brought by the chamberlain. I looked down at her and commanded, "Search her." Thorn frantically batted away the chamberlain's groping hands, shrieking hysterically at me, "You wretched dove! How dare you humiliate me like this? I'm your elder sister. 30 slaps for your insolence," I ordered the matron standing nearby. The matron rolled up her sleeves, grabbed Thorn by the collar, and began delivering alternating slaps. Thorn struggled to curse me, but could only manage muffled whimpers. The chamberlain found a slender divine whip hidden in her undergarments, the very whip that had bound Dragon Treasure and stripped him of his tendons in their past life. Without that divine whip, Thorn wouldn't have stood a chance against Dragon Treasure. I tucked the whip into my sleeve, a true treasure, though I longed to destroy it. The sacred weapon bore no guilt, the sin lay with its wielder. After 30 brutal slaps, Thorn's cheeks swelled crimson, her eyes burning with venomous hatred as she glared at me. The shadow guards pinned her entire body down, leaving her utterly immobilized. "Why? How could you possibly birth a divine dragon? What vile trick did you use? Did you steal my destiny as payment? That dragon should have been mine." Her eyes burned with fury, her entire being consumed by madness. I scoffed coldly. Has elder sister truly never known about the golden cores within us? She froze momentarily before shrieking, "What golden cores?" "The elixir mother obtained for us. Mine was the dragonborn core, while yours was the siren's allure. But your elixir doesn't just drain men's vitality, it consumes your unborn child's very essence." Thorn collapsed to his knees in shock, unable to believe what he'd heard. "No, that can't be. Mother adored me. How could she possibly? Why not? We're twins. Yet I birthed divine dragons while you spawn abominations. Go ask the Damien family if you doubt me." Thorn wore an expression of utter disbelief as he was thrown out. In her heart, her parents' love for her knew no bounds. How could they ever harm her? 3 days later, a servant from the Damien household came bearing tragic news. The message came, both father and mother had perished in the flames, their remains reduced to charred bones. I gave some silver to the chief eunuch to arrange for the collection of my parents' ashes, then have them buried on any random hillside. At least this repays their kindness in raising me. Thorn set the fire. When she confronted mother, the royal astrologer's final warning suddenly dawned on her. Collapsing to the ground in despair, she wailed that everything was her fault. Hearing mother's confession, she naturally concluded mother was the reason she couldn't bear a divine dragon. In a fit of rage, she set Damien's house ablaze and calmly walked away. Little did she know, this marked the beginning of her living hell. Having murdered a court official, Thorn became a wanted fugitive citywide. Though her father was temporarily stripped of office by the emperor, he remained a ranking government official. She was forced into a life of constant hiding. Her stunning beauty and intoxicating feminine scent drove hordes of wandering serpent demons to compete for her favors. Her inner core absorbed the vital essence of these men, enhancing her allure with each encounter. This endless cycle transformed her into a woman who belonged to all yet belonged to none. Perhaps this was her destined fate all along, rather than killing her outright. Watching her suffer daily under the torment of those vile serpents, stripped of all future and hope, would be far sweeter vengeance for murdering my dragon child and me in our past life. Time flew, and 6 years passed in the blink of an eye. My precious dragon has grown into a graceful youth. The emperor once again stripped Ezekiel of his crown prince title this lifetime, though it was at Ezekiel's own request. Now the emperor personally mentors the young dragon in state affairs, preparing to hand over the throne when he comes of age at 10. After giving birth to Dragon Treasure, my inner elixir dissipated completely, and my suppressed beauty gradually returned. Though I know I may never bear another child as extraordinary as Dragon Treasure, I'll cherish every child Ezekiel and I are blessed with. During our leisure at home, we began journeying through various beast realms. At last, in this lifetime, I've met the right person and fulfilled my heart's desires. How could the word carefree ever do it justice?